strong enough for a tornado warning right now, but if it continues to hold together, it is going to continue to push eastward. It's over Harlan right now and moving toward Big Stone Gap. So here's some of the communities moving towards South Wallens now, Pine Mountain 125, the core of the storm that is, and then moving toward Big Stone Gap about 152, and the Lonesome Pine Country Club about 157, Norton about 2 o'clock if it stays on its current path. So as you mentioned, Dave, severe thunderstorm warning for Harlan County and extreme southern Leslie County for possibility of some 70-mile-an-hour winds. The other cell that we're watching closely is down near Rutledge and just to the west of Morristown. This is for quarter-sized hail, 1-inch diameter, and 60-mile-an-hour winds.
And just to give a little perspective here where the viewing area begins, Sneedville and Hancock County is kind of like the western part of our viewing area, and then that does extend southward toward Morristown. Hamlin County is in that severe thunderstorm warning that you were mentioning. So you can see the storm still clearly not in the viewing area, but these are racing off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. So it's not going to take a lot of time before those storms do push into the western part of our viewing area of Hancock County and Hawkins County, Greene County as well. And also this storm that we were talking about earlier that has the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for areas of Bell County and, Harlan County and also southern Leslie County. The storm that had the tornado signature on it was right there is when we had the tornado warning in effect, right, David? Is a second. And it looks like it has lost some of its rotation, but still looks like there's still enough shear there that it is indicated by that warning information that there is a possible tornado. Tornado is possible, but not right now likely with this particular storm that is now near South Wallens up toward Harlan, Kentucky, and extending up toward Everts and just to the west now of Pine Mountain and to the southeast of Moselle. So this is getting set to move out of Leslie County shortly, but will be entering the dangerous part of the storm will be entering Harlan County. In fact, it's in Harlan, right over Harlan right now, and that other cluster of storms also pushing closer to the viewing area as well. There are a number of little cells that are starting to pop up elsewhere outside of the warned area in northeast Tennessee that are individual little cells. The Storm Prediction Center was saying that there will be supercell storm formation likely with these little discrete cells. We'll have to keep an eye on these as the conditions environmentally, atmospherically become a little bit more favorable for the possibility of some of these storms strengthening into possible warnings too. But right now in the Tri-Cities area, we do have several storms that are popping now from just near Kingsport down toward the Johnson City area, as well as some of these storms that do not have warnings for them in Russell County, as well as Dickinson, Buchanan County. This entire region of northeast Tennessee, southeast Kentucky, and most of southwest Virginia under tornado watches, the Virginia and Kentucky one until 7 p.m. and 6 p.m. and the northeast Tennessee into portions of western North Carolina. This tornado watch is in effect until 7 p.m. this evening. So we certainly are concerned, and just getting now an update from the National Weather Service that a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for these storms that are racing eastward. This will include our viewing area. It includes areas from near Morristown. This is just an extension of the warning. It's already in effect until 2:15, this severe thunderstorm warning, stretching from Hamlin County, the southwest parts of Hawkins County. Does not necessarily include Rogersville, but extends down toward St. Clair and Bulls Gap and Mossheim and Greenville and Tusculum. So just to give you an idea how fast these storms are moving, the current time is 1:22 in the afternoon, and by 2:15 when this warning expires, this particular storm should have raced or will be racing across the central part of Greene County, also through the southern and western parts of Hawkins County. So now is the time to be getting into your, or having preparations to getting into your safe place as this storm continues to race off to the east. Was this a considerable damage storm that might have winds up to 70, or is it?
This one is 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-sized hail, but tornado possible.
Okay.
And it is moving to the east at about 45 miles an hour. So as we track that into the future, as you mentioned, the storm itself is still near Morristown, but continuing to push to the east at 45 miles an hour. So that would put it into Morristown very soon, next few minutes. Bulls Gap about 140, Mohawk 145, Baileyton 148, into Greenville around 2 o'clock if it continues at its current speed. Getting a new scan now, and that the leading edge is around Cherokee Lake up to Mooresburg. So Mooresburg is in that severe thunderstorm warning, Cherokee high, and then Baileyton southward into Greenville. And again, when we put the warning information on here, warning until 2:15. Radar indicated large hail of quarter-sized, 1-inch diameter, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and there is some rotation. It's not enough for a tornado warning right now, but it bears watching, as a tornado could develop with little warning. But of course, we're watching it closely. Back up into southeast Kentucky, where we do have the considerable severe thunderstorm warning for the possibility of 70-mile-an-hour winds, and the core of the storm continues to be around Harlan and South Wallens, and that storm is also pushing to the east. As we track that one, we'll update the timing on that.
Are they still moving at 50 miles per hour?
Yeah, let me double check this northern cell. Yeah, 45 to 50 miles an hour. So that puts it toward Norton about 2 o'clock. That was what we had earlier. So it's holding its own right now as they're moving to the east. Checking the hail right now. Not seeing a lot of hail with these cells in the viewing area, but there is some large hail
Looks like up
northeast
to quarter-size hail right there, maybe a little bit larger than that, perhaps.
Right, near Maynardville, just to the northeast of Knoxville and northwest of Strawberry Plains. So this is a big thunderstorm complex. I mean, it's moving or stretching from north of Rogersville all the way down to north of Knoxville, and just a massive amount of lightning as we
Another thing to kind of keep into, take into consideration, it's kind of oriented in east-west.
Yeah.
And so it may train over some of these areas for a considerable amount of time. So we'll have to keep an eye on the possibility of some localized flooding with that orientation, as well as in addition to that possibility of some severe winds. As you mentioned, this storm, the National Weather Service indicating up to 60-mile-an-hour winds, and the possibility of up to quarter-size hail, but tornado possible with it as well. Conditions are just favorable in the upper levels with the wind shear for any of these storms to, maybe not without a whole lot of warning, be upgraded to tornado warnings. But right now, just a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for that storm, which is just really to the west, south and west, the more intense of it, of Rogersville, and extending to near Moorestown. And then perhaps even the more intense part of the storm is even back to the west here. Look at these lightning strikes within the past little while, almost 600. So it does have some prolific lightning strikes with it for sure. And the danger, of course, of some strong and damaging wind gusts as well. And moving very quickly off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. And does continue to advance eastward with some scattered areas of showers and storms also developing across other portions of northeast Tennessee and southwest Virginia outside of those warnings. And while we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings except for those two clusters of storms, just be mindful that any of those storms here over the next couple of hours could flare up and potentially become severe as well. We do have tornado watches in effect for northeast Tennessee and southwest Virginia and southeast Kentucky, parts of western North Carolina through at least 6 or 7 o'clock this evening. And you can see here, David, you got the rainfall rates on here over the past 3 hours, and that is definitely showing what we were talking about earlier about the intense rain kind of training over that same zone in an extended period, which can lead to some flash flooding as well.
Yeah, 1.5 to 2 inches recently with those storms. So as you mentioned, that's something we'll be monitoring closely as they are inching or as they are moving eastward into the viewing area. There are some thunder showers, a few thunderstorms around Johnson City and Boones Creek. Not severe, but they do have some heavy rains with them. Northward to Kingsport. Also some thunderstorms that popped up. These are intensifying over Dickinson, Buchanan counties. So we're going to be monitoring that.
What's the hail? Does the hail tracker show anything over this little cluster of storms?
Yeah, good question. Not seeing anything right now. So it's probably a lot of heavy rain currently, and I don't see very strong winds yet. But
so below severe criteria, but definitely worth watching as these storms continue to lift through Russell, Buchanan, and Dickinson County toward Tazewell County. And as you mentioned, we're seeing some pop-up showers, thunderstorms ahead of the main cluster of storms that's advecting or moving into Hawkins County as we speak. Morristown is right in line now for the brunt of this storm here shortly, and will be pushing into areas of Greene County and the northern portion of Cott County for that severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued. And just be mindful, as we were talking about how quickly these storms are moving. If you do live in the Rogersville area, southward toward areas of Greene County and Hamlin County and Greene County, you still have, at least into the Greene County portion of the storm, not so much in Hamlin County. Your place of safety should already be reached by now, but you still have time to get into your safe place, a sturdy structure away from windows as these storms continue to push off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. At this point, it looks like the main danger from that line of storms is going to be strong, possibly damaging straight line winds up to 60 miles per hour, which can do considerable damage to tree limbs and trees, etc. That can lead to power outages as these storms continue to push off to the east rather quickly at about 50 miles per hour. So that is looking like some strong winds there, perhaps, David? Or
yeah, I'm seeing a few pockets. Let's see. Let me go back. Okay, so we have to. What looks like some strong winds right here is actually bad data because there's no rain there. So as we look back to the west, I mean, there are some stronger winds. It looks like there's a very small pocket of 50-mile-an-hour winds there near Morristown being indicated by radar. That's very close to radar.
Yeah, I mean, the storm's going to be passing right over Morristown, where the National Weather Service Doppler radar is located. So some of this data is a little bit harder to, get a feel for right over that general area, but certainly the Morristown area is going to be getting the getting the punch of this storm right now up toward Ridgeview. There we go. Yeah, I'm getting my perspective here. So there's Russellville, and we've got Morristown and up toward areas of Hawkins County here, as you mentioned, near Mooresburg, here along Cherokee Lake, getting hit pretty hard now, but pushing closer to, well, actually in Hawkins County around Klondike, and the warning does include areas around St. Clair Elementary School, for example, here's in the southern part of Hawkins County, and folks in Whitesburg and also Bulls Gap, up toward Grigsby and Cherokee High School, all of these zones in Hawkins County under a severe thunderstorm warning, and continuing into eventually Greene County as well. So heads up around Mohawk and Mossheim, and also Greenville and Caney and areas around Camp Creek as well in the southern portion of Greene County near the foothills there, as well as the storm continues to push off to the east. Not yet in those areas, but soon to arrive. So just be on the lookout for that.
And no more warning in southeast Kentucky, Dave.
So they let that one expire?
Yep, it has expired. It's still 132, so they could reissue it, but I'm not noticing as much lightning here. Let me put back on the lightning tracker.
So that has...
So yeah, it's down to 18 lightning strikes
that's quite
in the past few minutes.
Lowering of the frequency of the lightning, and that's something that we always look at for indications on whether a storm is strengthening or perhaps weakening.
Yeah.
And that definitely has been the trend as it pushes into extreme eastern Kentucky and Harlan County, getting into the southern part of Letcher County and also through Bell County near Middlesboro. So these showers and storms, as they continue up through southwest Virginia, do not have any warnings with them, but they are producing some heavy downpours, and still, even though we don't have a warning for that storm coming into the northern part of Lee County, or just about ready to push into Lee County here over the next half hour, and especially the southern portion of Wise County, even though we don't have a warning for them, there's still going to be some gusty winds, but certainly the trend here over the past half hour with this storm, as it now just right really next to the Kentucky-Virginia border, so from near Keokee, just a little bit west of Keokee around State Route 38, and then extending south to between Martins Fork Lake and Harlan, and then to well, it is now into the western portion of Lee County here near the Wilderness Road State Park along Highway 58. So around Rose Hill and Ewing now, we're getting some heavy rains, at least scattered about the western portion of Lee County, getting close to Ewing. Here's Rose Hill. And so these areas will be getting in on this particular storm. But as you mentioned, at this time, that storm with, an hour ago was producing a tornado warning in southeast Kentucky. Right now has no warning with it. So that's some good news as we head across this segment of the scattered areas of storms that are pushing into the viewing area. But we still have that severe thunderstorm complex, if you will, or at least a cluster of storms now racing into portions of East Tennessee, fully engaged now in much of Hawkins County. We've got some heavy rain near Rogersville along 11W. Not in the warning, but we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that is flashing here until 2:15. That does include areas of southern western Hawkins County, just to the south of Rogersville, and then extending into Greene County, as well as the northern portions of Cott County. So it looks like at this point, as far as this warning is concerned, the most intense part of the storm seems to be right over the Morristown area of Hamlin County.
I was just looking for some wind shear. There is some wind shear around Morristown. It's not very strong, but that's why in the severe thunderstorm warning it does say tornado possible. Is if it gets strong enough, it'll meet the criteria for tornado warning. But right now, still a severe thunderstorm warning for the Morristown area, also southern Hawkins, northern Cott, and most of Greene County till 2:15 for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And I was looking at the chat from the National Weather Service. They are anticipating that some of the worst weather is actually going to be near and south of Knoxville, near and south of I-40 is where they're anticipating this line of storms that possibly end up producing more of the wind damage. So they're not saying we're out in the woods.
Exactly.
But
so it kind of you're thinking from this storm here, and then with this new development that's heading through East Tennessee, this looks pretty impressive there with the bow structure of the curvature in that line of storms. That certainly does favor possible strong winds, and that warning just popped up in there for that area of storms right now for that portion of East Tennessee. Like you said, that is favoring areas near and to the southwest of Knoxville, but this storm still is very impressive that is pushing into East Tennessee. So that would bode well, at least as far as the northern portion of the viewing area, perhaps. As far as southwest Virginia, maybe the stronger, more severe thunderstorms perhaps will be in areas of East Tennessee, which is not good for East Tennessee, obviously, but focusing our attention now perhaps on these strong, intense storms now arriving in areas of our viewing region of northeast Tennessee. That severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 2:15. That does include Greene County up to areas and near and kind of west of this line from Bayleton to Greenville down toward St. James points westward. So you just put a new storm track on here, moving quite along, isn't it?
It is Bulls Gap very soon. Bayleton around 152, Moss Island by 155, and to Greenville by around 2 to 205, and Tusculum just after that. And if it continues on its same path and speed around Jonesboro at 215. So that's the latest track on this cell. Still looking to see where the strongest winds. Radar showing the strongest winds still west of Morristown, but they are still the possibility of some gusts every now and then of 60 miles an hour, not constant 60-mile-an-hour winds, but still capable of producing that, and radar indicated. Hail at this point looks pea-sized, maybe penny-sized, but still stronger north of Knoxville. So that cell, if it holds together, would eventually move into Greene County. So we're going to continue to monitor that. We'll zoom out here and show you the big picture. The warnings to the north are well to the north, near Lexington. So the main activity we're concerned about is from just north of Knoxville, eastward through Jefferson City, Morristown, and we're gonna have to watch that cell near Morristown. If it hooks a little bit more, that may end up. There is some rotation still.
So certainly you know, on severe thunderstorm warnings, as you said, David, they classify them from different levels of severity, and this one still is tagged with that tornado possible. Indications are that maybe not strong enough development within the atmosphere for the shear and the spin to result in a tornado warning, but that part of the storm, as you mentioned, right through here near Morristown, does have that possibility of some wind shear that will definitely need to be monitored, so that heaviest part of this line of storms now is stretching from just to the south of Rogersville, around St. Clair, and areas near Bulls Gap, and also Morristown, and pushing now very close to the Greene County line. We do have it already on the Greene County line here on the northern part of this line of storms. Still, though, Interstate 81 is not necessarily being impacted by the most intense part of the storm, but I would definitely advise not trying to make a trip along Interstate 81 here over the next hour, because pretty much the entire stretch of that major thoroughfare is going to be under the gun for some heavy rain over the next half hour or so as that storm continues to push off to the east, as severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for Greene County until 2:15. So here are the three different tiers of warning here. The base level is for the typical severe thunderstorm warning for, you know, gusts of wind up to 60 miles per hour and 1-inch diameter hail or quarter size, and heavy rain and lightning considerable is what the severe thunderstorm warning issued now. Go ahead. Yeah, I would say that it's not a considerable.
Yeah,
it's got the tornado tag, but not a severe.
Right. It's technically base level, but it does have the tornado possible tag. So yeah, that it.
And we don't see. I mean, occasionally we do see the considerable, but we very rarely get into the destructive criteria for severe thunderstorm warnings.
The only time I can ever remember that happening was just recently in Dickinson County, earlier in the year.
Right, and that did produce a tremendous amount of power outages too, as it came through.
It's very rare, and when it gets up to the destructive level, it'll actually trigger phones just like a tornado warning, or a higher level flash flood warning. So if you get a severe thunderstorm warning through your phone, through the WEA, you know this storm is very serious.
And you know, we always advise, every severe thunderstorm warning, is potentially dangerous, and so even though we probably will not see the level 3 criteria met necessarily with these storms, the damage still is quite possible. So we got an updated warning here coming in now, which does include the Greenville area. Yeah, there's a second warning here, and so that's the one we've been talking about, the northern one. Now, this southern one, there's actually, western Greene County is under 2 different warnings technically. But it's also a base warning for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. This one currently doesn't have the tornado possible tag on it, but just a heads up for that latest warning, it is just south of Mossheim. But in all reality, we're more concerned about this and watching that hook south of Russellville, Dave. What does the shear look like on that right now?
Let me pull that up now. So that's the strong wind. So still not very strong currently, but that could change pretty fast.
We'll have to keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you see the rotation there.
We got a little, I mean, it's notable, but not a tight circulation that we would normally expect from this particular wind speed product in order to cause a tornado warning to be issued. But certainly right through the zone, right through here, is just an area to watch as this storm continues to push off to the east. So here's Bulls Gap, there's Russellville, there's Silver City, and extending into, not here yet, but there's Mohawk in the western part of Greene County, and beginning to push into Greene County. In fact, it already has. At least some of the heavier shower part of the heavier rain part of it has already pushed into the eastern part of western part of Greene County here near Interstate 81, exit 30. But still, the more intense part of this storm is impacting areas of southern Hawkins County, back west toward Morristown, the Cherokee Lake area, Whitesburg, and continuing to push off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. Looks like at this point in time, yeah, David, you had some.
I was just going to mention, just been told that the Johnson City transit system has closed down for now.
Okay.
Just so that they don't have buses out on the roads. So the Johnson City transit system is currently shut down as a precaution for these storms that are off to the west.
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, maybe things will not get severe. Who knows? I mean, we are certainly in what doesn't happen very often, David, that's that level 4 potential of severe weather. Which is considered a moderate risk, but when you get in the level 4, that certainly gets everybody's concern up, rightly so, as we don't typically see the high-end risk for widespread winds that could exceed 75 miles per hour. Maybe we won't entirely, the whole viewing area, see that widespread wind gusts of 70 mile per hour or over, but the potential is there with the wind, as well as an elevated risk of tornado development with some of these storms as well. As they continue to push off to the east at very quickly moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. That new severe thunderstorm warning that is flashing does include Greenville. It does include right up to Tusculum toward Camp Creek and also areas of southern and western portions of Greene County, as well as much of Hawkins County from near just south of Rogersville and then into areas of Greene County near Bayleton. So like I mentioned, Interstate 81 corridor all the way down toward the Interstate 40 intersection there, all certainly are going to be experiencing this strong to severe thunderstorm as it pushes off to the east pretty quickly.
And I'm noticing some stronger rotation here. We'll see if this, well, I'll take that back. Looking at the loop, that's bad radar data,
yeah,
so we can ignore that. So that's why we have to take a second to analyze it. It's close to that hook, so that's what caught my attention at first.
For sure.
So there is some rotation.
Kind of right, like in here.
Yeah. So we can ignore this, but that's showing the broad rotation. It's not strong enough for a tornado warning currently, but that could change. It's around Silver City, just to the west of Mohawk and southwest of Bulls Gap. So a lot of lightning around Whitesburg and moving to the east. And if we look at the past few frames, that's when we see how that storm is.
Definitely the lightning frequency seems to have picked up a little bit.
Yeah. So let's check out how many lightning strikes now. 116. So that's a fairly small window for that number of lightning strikes. So there's still some scattered activity out ahead of the line, including around Piney Flats and Bluff City. This is not severe, but there are some pockets of heavy rain, some lightning with this, but no warnings currently for Southeast Kentucky or Southwest Virginia, although there is an intense cell, some heavy rains around Chilhowie. That is just popped up.
Yeah, that just kind of blew up out of nowhere in the past few minutes. That's definitely worth watching as it continues to race through Smith County and along Interstate 81 and Lee Highway as well.
It's been a little while since we've checked the rainfall totals. Let me update that. May take a second to update here, but there's still some areas just to our west that have seen 1.5 to 2 inches. So that's the complex that's moving our way.
And it may be taking on a bit of a more north-south orientation as far as the line, or not as east-west oriented as it was. So maybe the flash flood potential is more as far as the viewing area back to the west near Moorestown back toward the southwest. These are moving pretty quickly, so hopefully, obviously some intense rain is going to occur with that very frequent and dangerous lightning. But right now I would anticipate just by looking at how that line is oriented now from northeast to southwest as opposed to just straight east-west like it was, that it may be moving a little bit in a more favorable position regarding the flash flood potential. But you're going to see ponding of water, obviously, the poor drainage areas, the flood-prone areas, low-lying areas are going to be inundated with some heavy rain and some very intense and frequent lightning. But at this point, I think our main concern, the main danger with the storm now would be, you know, maybe some, at this point, it looks like mainly, you know, small hail up to quarter size or less. And did we just get a new warning?
This is a strong thunderstorm alert.
Right.
So this is just a heads up for the possibility of some 50-mile-an-hour winds. So this is actually just below severe thunderstorm levels. But winds to 50 miles an hour possible with these cells moving through Wise County, Lee County, and eventually into Scott County.
Yeah, I was just saying, you know, the strong thunderstorm alert is something that happens frequently with storms and so forth. So this is, as you mentioned, below severe thunderstorm warning criteria. But whenever that pops up, it is, you know, possible that they could strengthen. You know, we're hitting the max heating of the day, the instability likely to increase. But at this point, this storm is not near the strength that it was as it was in areas of southeast Kentucky when we had that considerable thunderstorm warning with winds possible over 70. But certainly just be prepared for, you know, wind gusts up to maybe 50 miles per hour with that storm as it races into areas and through areas of southwestern Virginia. But at this point, the main part of our viewing area being impacted by severe wind or possible hail is the flashing icon here on your television screen or computer screen or phone that indicates a severe thunderstorm warning. Pretty big area, so it's a large storm, and it covers a good portion of Hawkins County and also into areas of Greene County and areas of Hamlin County. That's where the more dangerous part of that storm is, in addition to some very heavy amounts of rain, which could cause some, you know, localized flooding in those areas as well. And so got a couple of storm reports, David, that you're highlighting here now from a little while ago as they developed near the Cumberland Plateau, I guess. Yeah,
the same storm system produced some trees knocked down near La Follette in Campbell County. That was about 1249, and a little bit before that around Caryville, had a few trees down as well, and another one just coming in, some trees knocked down near Luttrell in Union County. That was at 125. So these storms do have a history of producing some wind damage. So that's something else that we monitor to see how many storm reports are coming in.
It was kind of interesting. Not there haven't been storm reports in southeast Kentucky, but when that cluster of storms was producing the warnings, severe and tornado, so far we have not had any official reports of severe damage, you know, wind damage or hail. Those sometimes trickle in, obviously, as they become made, you know, as we become aware of them. But so far, the main storm reports have been coming out of these storms that are now pushing across portions of East Tennessee.
Correct. So it's possible that there was just the rotation in the sky, but the tornado didn't touch down. But we'll have to wait and see as potential reports come in a little bit later. But far western parts of Greene County now getting hit by this storm. Bulls Gap down to near Mossheim and Warrensburg still seeing that the leading edge of this line, also White Pine and Dandridge. So that's going to continue to impact the Greene County area.
So if we just do kind of a draw line from here, it would appear that as far as the metro is concerned, that severe part of the segment, which does extend north into the Tri-Cities, Kingsport, but it looks like perhaps this cluster of storms may be more dangerous for areas of where it's occurring now across Hawkins County and Greene County and Cott County and Hamlin County, but will be racing eastward through Washington County, Tennessee, and perhaps as it continues, if it holds its intensity, would be pushing into Carter County and Unicoi County as well, and then into the mountains of North Carolina. That's not to say Kingsport or Bristol will not have severe weather, but right now they're almost moving due east at about 50 miles per hour, and the main core of this storm might favor, just looking at the configuration of these storms currently, might favor the southern part of the central and southern part of the metro as opposed to the northern part. Now, maybe in 15 minutes to a half hour, this will flare up and become more active and potentially more severe. And then some of our forecast models are also indicating, David, that we could see, as the upper dynamics with this system become a little more apparent and become a little closer to us, we may see some additional development in eastern Kentucky, which may bear watching for another round of possible severe thunderstorms, or at least scattered severe, beyond the initial wave of storms and showers that are pushing through the viewing area now.
And the storm I'm highlighting now is well north of the viewing area, northwest of Pikeville, but just wanted to show that some of these storms are still intensifying to our north, so that some of these around Hyden and maybe others that haven't developed yet could still pop up. So that's why we're going to continue to monitor for the rest of the afternoon. The tornado watch continues for Southwest Virginia and Southeast Kentucky.
Now it includes the whole viewing area. Yep. So, up until just a few minutes ago, Tazewell, Smith, Grayson County was kind of the cutoff, as well as the northern mountains of North Carolina. So now,
This watch is in effect until 9 p.m., the eastern part of the area, that pink part, Marion, Boone, eastward, tornado watch until 9 o'clock. For Northeast Tennessee, the watch until 7. The rest of Southwest Virginia and Southeast Kentucky until 6.
I would say, we could probably group, the mountains of North Carolina, Grayson, Smith County, before 9 p.m. I think it would be, by 7 p.m., probably, if not sooner, probably the danger of severe weather is going to be winding down. But the reason that, those counties are until 9 p.m. because it starts here and it continues all the way through 9 p.m. points to the east. But we're thinking probably the main danger of severe weather is going to be from right now through maybe perhaps 6 o'clock. Or 7 o'clock probably at the latest, I'm anticipating. So that's kind of the time frame that we need to be most weather aware. But to emphasize, the entire viewing area is now under a tornado watch for the remainder of the afternoon into the early evening hours. And you're going to show us what the future radar is looking like. So
this looks like it may be more intense for Sullivan County than what we're seeing right now. But there's 3 o'clock until 4 o'clock. Now, earlier it was showing some more redevelopment. These may be strong around 7 to 8 p.m., but, and we'll continue to monitor it, but it does look like that the main risk will be between now and about 5 or 6 p.m. for the viewing area, with some possible redevelopment after that.
Short term, as in right now for the next hour, is that cluster of storms that is moving across areas of Greene County and areas of Hawkins County and into Cott County still, and Jefferson you can see there as well. So this storm is kind of right over Bulls Gap now. It looks like the most intense part of this storm, and then up towards St. Clair, and then pushing into the northern part of Greenville, so right along Interstate 81, which is running right through here. This cell is impacting Interstate 81 and is pushing through now the northern and western portions of Greene County and into the northern part of Cott County, just to the north of Parrottsville, and then also toward White Pine and Morristown. So this has been sitting over this general area for a while. So there could be some, some localized flooding concerns as these storms continue to kind of train over that location and into areas perhaps of Greene and Hawkins County as well. So be mindful of that. This within the past 3 hours showing in the Greene where at least a half an inch to an inch of rain has fallen, and sometimes it takes a little while for that Doppler radar to catch up with the rain that's actually occurring right now. So we're likely have seen some higher end totals than what's showing up right through here with that area of storminess that is continuing to push through northeast Tennessee. But some spots have had you know, over 1.5 inches of rain just to the west of Morristown within the past couple of hours. We do have a flood advisory in effect for parts of southeastern Kentucky. This is not within our viewing area, but kind of bumps up to Harlan County and also Letcher County in southeast Kentucky, that flood advisory until 4:15. The storms are much more scattered in this part of the viewing of the region. The more encompassing area that is continuing to impact is in East Tennessee. A lot of lightning now, David, along Interstate 81, upwards of 225 lightning strikes. And that is moving right across the Interstate 81 corridor right now and extending back toward Morristown. Probably hearing some thunder now around Greenville, certainly in Mossheim, where the impact is right now. That severe thunderstorm warning continues in effect until 2:15 for this general area of Greene County and northern Cott County.
And if we can go over to Max 2, we can show you what it looks like right now from Tuskegee University. Meteorologist Teresa Carter is monitoring the cameras. She's pulled this up, and so you can see the storm there in the distance. So that is the cell that's currently impacting Mossheim. There's some very heavy rain, especially just to the north and west of Mossheim, but it's moving into Mossheim and Midway. It's over the exit 23 area right now, and also Bulls Gap. Exit 30 and around Baileyton, also seeing that heavy rain, and Newmansville. So that's going to be continuing to push to the east. And to recap the warning that's in effect for Mossheim and Greenville, this is in place till 2:15 for the possibility of some quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. This is all radar indicated, but a tornado is possible. The rotation not strong enough for a tornado warning right now, but that could change. So that's why we're on the air right now, because we want to be on if there is a spin-up tornado. But right now, we're more concerned about straight-line winds as this cell moves to the east. At about the latest track is 45 miles an hour.
So moving right along, and the storm activity seems to have fired up a little bit. We've been talking about these storms that have been through eastern portions of Sullivan County into northern Carter County. Some heavy rain, even some pretty decent amounts of lightning on the northern end of that here across the Tri-Cities. So this is pretty close to Hickory Tree and Chinkapin and up in toward the South Holston Lake, the south and east parts of the Bristol metro area. There's Bristol Motor Speedway, we've got Gray Acres, there's Bristol Caverns, and this is Laurel Marina along South Holston Lake. So this not being warned for severe weather, but just a heads up that we're seeing storms flare up in other portions of the viewing area right now that are not necessarily covered with any severe thunderstorm warning. We pointed out that cell back here to the west, actually several kind of little clusters, that in Lee County and Wise County, pushing into Scott County, has a strong thunderstorm alert with it, but still indications are that the wind gusts are most likely not reaching severe qualification. The criteria is 58 miles per hour or higher, so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. Look here at the Smith County area. This storm has, we were showing where that popped up, real quickly near Chilhowie along the Smith and Washington County line. This cell continues to move pretty quickly off to the east, northeast at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. And there is some frequent lightning with this storm not being warned for. But of course, if you live in Marion, Virginia, maybe we could pull up, we do have a camera.
Yeah, we're pulling it up right now. It'll be there at Max 2 here in just a moment.
And we can see that this storm does have some very intense amounts of rain and some pretty frequent lightning as well. So we'll have to keep an eye as far as those areas not in the severe thunderstorm warnings, that area that's in eastern Sullivan County, and also this storm that has flared up in the Smith County area from near Chilhowie to Marion up toward the Atkins region. And that storm also is pushing off to the east, northeast pretty quickly at about 45 miles per hour, and some, notable lightning strikes with this storm as well. Right now at 34. And here's a look at our Bank of Marion cam from downtown Marion. Some of the heavy rain that is falling across this area currently in Smith County. So that's just a quick look at...
Yeah, a new tornado warning looks like. So this is going to be popping up. It's actually for that cell we were just talking about, Dave.
Okay, let's go zoom in on that, take a look at that one. This now has a tornado warning, so folks in Smith County need to be taking shelter immediately for this dangerous storm. Possibility of a tornado with that right now. Looking at the wind shear and this wind product here showing that possible tornado is pretty close to the Marion area as we look at the wind speed and the possible shear, the opposing wind fields that appear to be kind of right in here, right, David?
Yeah,
Across.
so yeah, there's the wind speeds. So and of course this is pretty high up on the radar. But
right, because Marion's kind of in between the Blacksburg radar and also the Morristown radar. So yeah, the beams from both of those radars are pretty high off the ground by the time they reach this part of Southwest Virginia.
Yeah, now it's a little bit more pronounced there on the south side of Marion especially. So if we just filter out, so that's where some of the strongest winds are right now.
So
and let me query this again.
So the best place obviously to be right now would be in a sturdy structure on the lowest level of your home or place where you live, or if you're in a school or a business, have your plan already in play, of course, and be taking shelter in that location. But the best place that offers the best safety is going to be from an interior section of your home on the lowest level of the home and away from windows. Perhaps you have a blanket or pillow or some kind of helmet, something to cover your head with should you encounter a tornado that might cause damage and flying debris. Right now, the severe part of this storm is moving right across Smith County. This tornado warning in effect until 2:30 this afternoon. And it looks like the danger here would be around the Smith County section of Marion from near Furnace Hill up toward the Marion area and pushing off to the east at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So this storm indicating a possible tornado. We have not yet had confirmation of that particular cell producing a tornado, but it is moving off to the east, northeast, and will impact areas from near Marion points eastward between now and, let's say, between, what time does that warning expire?
The warning is in place until 2:30, but it goes all the way up to Wytheville. So the track has it near the Smith County Hospital right now, around Adkins around 2:11, Adkins Elementary about 2:12, and the Mountain Empire Airport about 2:17, and we'll retreat about 2:21. So radar indicated tornado warning for Smith County. The tornado located near Marion, moving northeast at about 40 miles an hour. It's a radar indicated tornado, and it spun up quickly. Dave didn't even have a severe thunderstorm warning ahead of it. It just
and then we had pointed that out
quickly.
probably about a half hour ago when it developed near Chilhowie. We said, boy, this thing just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then 10, 20 minutes later, it's over Marion and has the circulation, the rotation, I should say, within the storm to possibly be producing a tornado with some hail potentially with this storm as well as it pushes off to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So really the part of Smith County that would be under the gun right now for this possible tornado stretching from near Marion and then right up along Interstate 81 to Atkins and eventually up toward the Mountain Empire Airport. It's moving quickly, so the danger will be for the Marion area right now for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then continuing to shift eastward toward Atkins, Virginia, and then eventually up into the Mountain Empire Airport region near the Smith and Wythe County line. So all areas within this red polygon right here, especially from near Marion, points east and northeast, should be in your safe place. A tornado warning means that a tornado has been indicated by radar or actually sighted, and at this point it's a radar indicated tornado. But if you are within a tornado warning, you need to take this particular storm very seriously and seek shelter in your safe place, away from windows, lowest level of your home, perhaps a closet or under stairs or a hallway, away from windows and glass, preferably in the kind of the center portion of your home or place of business. And a lot of schools, David, did dismiss early ahead of these storms in anticipation of possible tornado warnings. So, you know, we're hopeful that, you know, the school buses are not necessarily on the road as we are dealing with this severe weather. Some definitely concern remains for that possibility of a tornado now in Smith County for the next little while.
And the possible tornado right now looks to be just to the east of downtown Marion, near Highway 16, near Brushy Mountain Road, near Pierce Road, near Nicks Creek Road, and moving north and east. Now, the last scan didn't show as strong of a rotation, but it could come and go. So the tornado warning continues until 2:30. There could also be some quarter-sized hail with this cell. So that's the tornado warning, and we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. I'll clear this off. And it's for the same cell we've been tracking in Greene County, keeping the tornado possible, but a severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of Greene County, most of Washington County, Tennessee, most of Unicoi County, and most of Carter County, and extreme southern Sullivan County until 3:15, Dave.
And so that, as we were mentioning, was going to impact the southern and central part of the metro. But look, this up here also is important. We've been talking about this storm developing into...
Turn that off. There we go.
Developing into the northern part of Carter County as well as the eastern Sullivan County. So no warning, doesn't look like as much lightning, but let's go ahead and just kind of give a recap of the warnings we've got. What the new warning as far as tornadoes are concerned is the Smith County warning as well as Wythe County. Looks like that warning will continue until 2:30, but I would say the danger of a tornado has passed the Marion, you know, the immediate Marion area, but continues to move up along Interstate 81 near Adkins. So that is where the dangerous part of the storm is right now. As you mentioned, there are a number of areas, number of roads, number of, you know, smaller communities, populated areas that continue to be under the possible influence or impact of this possible tornadic storm. But if you look, here's kind of where the downtown area of Marion, so it has pushed east of that, but right now kind of centered on areas near Adkins, Virginia. That area points to the south, still probably staying north of State Route 16, but it looks like the reflectivity has increased with that new scan.
It has,
so that seems to be indicating some intensity beginning to increase. So looking at our hail tracker, the possibility of some hail right now would be where the core of that storm is. I guess that shouldn't be a surprise, but some hail up to maybe quarter size impacting areas around Adkins, Virginia, and stretching through the eastern, let's say, half of Smith County, and pushing into the western part of Wythe County as well here over the next 15 minutes to a half hour. The storm track indicating that the storm will be near Mountain Empire Airport around 2:13. So here's kind of where we think the possible tornado is. Here's Mountain Empire Airport, and it's now 2 o'clock, and the storm with the possible tornadic part of it moving near the Mountain Empire Airport around 2:13, Cedar Springs around 2:18, Staley Crossroads around 2:18, Blacklick around 221, Blessing around 223, Copenhagen's around 223, Klein around 226, and Shoup around 228. And then by that time, we're talking, by those latter communities, the storm well out of Smith County. By that time, it would look like. But certainly the dangerous part of the storm is still impacting a major part of our viewing area in Smith County, and we do urge all of our viewers and all people, everybody, to be taking shelter right now within the tornado warning that continues in effect until 2:30, correct, David, for that tornado warning for areas of Smith County and,
yes,
and Wythe County. So the storm is moving pretty quickly. Just a few minutes ago when we started covering the tornado warning with this storm, it was right over Marion, and now it's pushing quickly off to the east and northeast at about 45 miles per hour. And the other storms now that we do have in East Tennessee, we do not have tornadic development indicated by radar, but still conditions are favorable for some rotation within these storms, and so we've got severe thunderstorm warnings until 3:15. The most recent one.
Yeah, let's go back to Max 2 to show you what it looks like from Tusculum, because we're watching that cell, starting to see more lightning. There we go, live look from Tusculum University looking toward that cell. So just want to give you a quick update on that, because it is racing into the Greenville area and Tusculum. And radar, let's go back to Max 1 now. We're seeing some of these stronger winds now show up on radar.
And right near the Greenville area,
yeah.
Highway 321 really, looks like the more intense winds would be stretching from near Bayleton Road and Route 70 near Greenville and extending back towards Stanton Mill, Dulaney, and Bright Hope, going toward Caney Branch, as that line of storms continues to push off to the east about 45 miles per hour. So the camera that we were looking at was from Tusculum University,
yes,
and it was looking back toward the west. And was it to the west that was looking?
Yeah, yes.
There's the view of it right there. So pretty impressive, pretty ominous looking storm that obviously has not arrived yet in Tusculum, but is getting ready to push into that part of Greene County. It has already been in the western and northern parts of Greene County for a number of minutes, the last 15 minutes to a half hour or so, but still tracking that tornado warning in effect until 2:30. We've kind of shifted back to the north now. This is the tornado warning. This is Smith County, and this is Wythe County right here. And it continues to move off to the northeast pretty swiftly at about 45 miles per hour. And the intense part of this storm is near the Mountain Empire Airport. Really kind of hard to discern where the rotation would be resulting in a tornado with this, but again, it's still showing some dangerous signs as far as the possible rotation with this storm right now.
Mountain Empire Airport southward to Cedar Springs. There's some rotation on radar there. So the most intense part of the cell is over far eastern Smith County, now to just the east of Atkins, right over Mountain Empire Airport. We'll get a wind report from there soon, and moving, it's almost out of the viewing area, but still impacting travelers along Interstate 81 and Highway 11. All right, so we have a new tornado warning, Dave, and this includes Greene County.
All right.
So let's get back down here, and we will talk about this brand new tornado warning. So this warning includes Greenville and Tusculum, Raytown and Chuckey, Horse Creek and Limestone, Newmansville, Graysburg. So all these areas need to take shelter right now. Tornado warning in effect. Possible tornado near Bayleton Road and moving to the east. We'll check out the radar here. We're seeing that rotation from Bayleton Road down to the Greene County Airport and near Tusculum. So that is the tornado warning. It is in effect until the brand new tornado warning in effect till 2:45. It is radar indicated but this is a brand new tornado warning. The storm is moving to the east at 25 miles an hour, so this is actually slowed down a little bit.
And so it would appear kind of right in this zone here would be where that possible tornado is, where we have the black outline there that you can see, and now the red. That tornado warning extends all the way into Washington County, Tennessee,
yes,
as well. So this would be imminent, you know, right now here from near and north of Greenville toward Tusculum, toward Newmansville, but it's moving very quickly. Will be near Chuckey Elementary School very shortly as well, and areas around Limestone. So now's the time to, you know, take cover to protect yourself and your family. If you know someone who may not be aware of this situation unfolding now in Greene and Washington County, give them a call, let them know they need to take shelter immediately. This is a dangerous storm, and the severe thunderstorm warning has been upgraded to a tornado warning until 2:45 for parts of Greene County as well as the western parts of Washington County in Tennessee. So here is the Washington and Greene County line right there. So basically the more dangerous part of the storm, while it is heavy rain now toward Graysburg and Clear Springs and Horse Creek, it does appear that the part of the storm that is producing that possible tornado is still back toward the west, from near Greenville, northward along Bayleton Road, northward toward the Kennytown, kind of in this zone right here, David, would you not say?
Yes. Yeah, and it's...
And plus there's some strong winds right down through there. Right,
because radar is indicating some intense winds. Let's get the latest. These brighter colors are getting concerning. Yeah, there's the 60+ mile-an-hour winds being indicated on radar. So even if this does not end up producing a tornado, this will likely produce some straight line wind damage. And some of these same areas were hit very hard recently. The ground is still saturated. And I was talking to some family members that live in the Tusculum area, and their neighbors had some large trees knocked down from that last downpour last week.
Yeah, the ground is, I mean, some areas picked up to 3 to 5, 6 inches of rain just with that one episode last week. So you're right. Yeah. So with the ground saturated, it will be, you know, perhaps a little bit more favorable for just 60-mile-an-hour winds to cause trees to uproot and come down, just because of the saturated ground that is over this part of Greene County. In addition to with the possible tornado that is indicated by radar with this storm now. So giving a storm track here, tornado warning in effect until 2:45, but around 2:21, which is basically right now, it's over Tusculum. And it would then continue toward Afton and Twin Creeks Golf Course, Horse Creek around 2:31, David Crockett Birthplace around 2:34, Limestone around 2:38, Adams Mill around 2:39, Bright's Zoo around 2:43, Grandview Elementary School around 2:47, and Telford around 2:48, as it will continue to push into Washington County, Tennessee, by the time this warning expires at 2:45. So this storm racing to the east and certainly looking more impressive with even straight line wind potential from near Tusculum southward toward Alexander Mill and points to the south as well.
So that's pushing to the east. Even outside of the tornado warning, there's some strong winds near Camp Creek. So I'll be taking shelter for a severe thunderstorm around Camp Creek, also Horse Creek and South Central. So again, even if this doesn't end up producing a tornado, there is a lot of wind shear, and there is a lot of very strong winds moving into the Tusculum area right now. That is an impressive radar signal. As we go back just a little bit and kind of put this into slow motion, we can see how this is really intensified. So that is a sign of a lot of damaging winds.
I mean, really all the way from State Route 93, kind of curving around like toward Tusculum and Alexander Mill toward Camp Creek. I mean, that's some pretty impressive wind you know, within the storm. It's at the storm level where the radar beam intersects and produces these wind velocity graphics for us. But when you have, you know, right now it looks like 60 to 65 mile an hour winds at this location within the storm up above the ground, and as these storms are moving very fast off to the east, northeast at about 45 miles per hour, that in itself can really enhance the possibility of some straight line winds at the surface. And that's why, number one, we have the severe thunderstorm warning and also the tornado warning all within Greene County. And the severe thunder, here's kind of where the southern end of the tornado warning is. The warning points north, but the line extends down to the south toward Camp Creek and Alexander Mill, as Dave was pointing out. So really all of Greene County is under the impact of possible damaging winds. Not all, much of Greene County is within the scope of this storm, and it should be taken seriously, and you should be in your safe structure, your safe part of your home, obviously, away from windows until the storm passes. And the severe thunderstorm warning is pretty broad, David. If we pull back a little bit, the tornado warned part of the storm does include areas from near Greenville towards South Central along the Washington-Greene County line, but this whole area right through here, all the way through the southern part of Sullivan County, to include Piney Flats, Carter County, to include just about most of the communities like Elizabethton and Hampton and Roan Mountain, and also where we have what we think is some very strong straight line winds with a storm extending right here across the eastern and central part of Greene County. So this is pushing off to the east about 45 miles per hour. So even though this part of the storm may not be producing a tornado, this one might be, but the southern part does not look like it is, but could still have damaging thunderstorm winds up to 60 miles per hour as well as it moves through the eastern part of Greene County and into Washington County, Tennessee, and then into eventually Unicoi County and also into Carter County. New warning here for the mountains of North Carolina, Mitchell, Yancey, and Madison County. Those warnings are in anticipation for this storm to rapidly move through 315 into the mountains of North Carolina. So just a heads up that we do have severe thunderstorm warnings now extending into of course, the mountains of East Tennessee, but then beyond that, now a new warning for areas around Bakersville and Ramseytown in Yancey and Mitchell County. And an update here, it looks like the tornado threat for Smith County moving into and through Wythe County now. So I would say the danger for a tornado in Smith County has ended, but the storm still has a tornado warning with it for areas of Wythe County around Rural Retreat.
And they're going to let that expire.
They are going to let that expire, okay.
And one other thing real quick, Dave, I also wanted to point out this thunderstorm over Knoxville has that destructive thunderstorm tag.
Okay, so
they
80
are
plus.
warning for 80 mile an hour winds over the entire Knoxville area, and a tornado was possible. So that is a large, you see all these areas that are flashing, that goes over from Kodak all the way to Carnes and Farragut. So we're going to be watching that. It looks like that could potentially move east into Greene County. Let me zoom out and turn off the.
It certainly would be. You know, as it moves eastward, it would be in line for Cott County as well as possible Greene County and the Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg area. That's in addition to the severe storm that's now moving through parts of Cott County and Greene County, and that tornado warned storm in the eastern and northeastern, eastern and east central parts of Greene and western parts of Washington County, Tennessee. So there's a very wide covered area now of dangerous weather that is moving through, especially East Tennessee. There's still that warning in Wythe County, but it looks like that tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire in Southwest Virginia. But certainly this storm that has the tornado warning until 2:45, that does include areas right around the Chuckey Elementary School, Clear Springs, up toward near Upchurch and Newmansville. There's Horse Creek. So that looks pretty impressive there, David.
Yeah, it does.
Possible rotation there just to the right near Raytown, really. So
yes.
Need to be in your safe place here as this storm continues to show some signs of possible tornadic development right here near 11E from, well, probably north and east of Twin Creek's golf course toward Chuckey Elementary School, Raytown, Pleasant Vale, and also as far south as Hensley Air Park, and then this would be moving eastward toward Washington County, Tennessee. So there was Bright Zoo, Limestone, Old State Route 34 that would continue on its movement east if the tornado warning is extended, would likely have to include areas around Leesburg and Jonesboro and Lamar and Telford and Conklin. So just a heads up that even though the tornado warning is just now for the western tier of Washington County, Tennessee, that would probably be extended eastward as we get closer to 245. The warning that's out now is in effect yet for about another 17 minutes, but you can see the dangerous part of this storm appears to be right near Chuckey Elementary School in Greene County, with a lot of very heavy rain. It looks like it would be embedded within the very intense rain part of the storm, so it's probably not something you're not going to be able to see in advance. Yeah, so we got 596 lightning strikes within this storm, and that's certainly indicative of a very intense thunderstorm. And folks in eastern Greene County especially, and also into Washington County, Tennessee, should be in your safe place right now, away from windows, in the central part of your home, in the lower level of your home, and off the roads, of course, as well. Here is a look at maybe where the hail would be the higher chance, and perhaps the larger hail now, kind of a core there near Horse Creek, and also South Central, right along the Greene and Washington County line, and pushing off to the east. Really, the dangerous part of this storm is not only where the tornadic signature necessarily is right through here, but we're also seeing possible strong and damaging straight line winds further south of where that tornado will be, which is kind of right in this zone. But the strong damaging straight line winds extend all the way south through Greene County to include areas near Viking Mountain. And that is going to be pushing into areas of Washington County, Tennessee, as we speak. So certainly this storm is a very dangerous storm, and possibly has not only thunderstorm winds that might be producing damage, but also possible tornadic rotation with this storm right through here in areas of Greene County, right along 11E, between Limestone and Twin Creeks Golf Course would be, I would say, kind of moving in this general area right through here, where the possible tornado would be right now.
Yeah, from Raytown, yeah, just got the update, near Horse Creek and South Central. So the possible tornado is in far western Washington County, Tennessee. The tornado warning continues for far eastern Greene, far western Washington County, Tennessee until 2:45. And we are definitely seeing some strong winds, at the very least producing wind damage. That was our highest concern today, was seeing wind damage, but we knew that there was the risk for a few isolated tornadoes that could spin up in some of these storms from time to time. And the highest likelihood of that from Chuckey Elementary School down to South Central, and then the intense straight line winds will be moving into Unicoi County soon as well, Dave.
Let's go ahead and take a Jonesboro camera, because I've been watching this, and Jonesboro, the rain is getting heavier, and also the winds are starting to pick up. So again, that's on the very eastern or western portions of that storm. So that's something that Jonesboro is going to be watching, because those winds continuing to pick up. And then also, I did get some viewer video I want to show you. This was actually clouds over Bristol, Tennessee, kind of ominous looking clouds.
That was those storms, Teresa, that developed over Sullivan County. And while we showed you how that storm also flared up kind of out of nowhere, but it's been pushing through Sullivan County and then moving into areas of Washington County, Virginia, and Johnson County, Tennessee. Came over South Holston Lake, parts of the Bristol area. So yeah, thank you for that. And you can just kind of see with that video from Crystal, just kind of the turbulent nature of this storm system. There's a lot of wind shear with it, and something that is setting off, concern for not only the straight line winds, but also the the possibility of an isolated tornado. This cell did not produce a tornado, nor even a severe thunderstorm warning, but certainly gives us a great idea of how turbulent the atmosphere is right now, and really won't take much for any of these storms to flare up and become severe. And Tracy, we're also talking about that camera view from
Yes.
Jonesboro. So that tornado warning that is in effect for parts of eastern Greene County and western parts of Washington County, that tornadic part of the storm is very close now to the Greene and Washington County line right here. That's where the possible rotation is, right near Limestone, I believe. And look at all this lightning. So to kind of give you a reference point, so this is where the dangerous part, or at least the tornado, there's more than just one dangerous part, but the tornadic part of this storm is kind of running right through here. But here's Jonesboro right here, and with these storms moving off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour, it's not going to take very long for this storm to go from point A to point B. And so residents, did the tornado warning just drop off?
Yeah, for now, I'm wondering if they're going to reissue it. But for now, we have just the severe thunderstorm warning, which I say just, but it still has the potential of producing some very strong winds of 60 miles an hour. We still have the tornado possible on the severe thunderstorm warning.
So that, I mean, that's, you know, not to say there's no chance of a tornado, but it's looking perhaps the rotation not as impressive, but it still looks pretty, it bears watching. I would just say this whole zone right through here from near, well, really now just close to the Washington and Greene County line, off to the east, near and east of Chuckey Elementary School toward Horse Creek and South Central. This whole zone still has some shear with it, and I would just say heads up, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in place for this area, just not the tornado warning anymore. But as you all know, sometimes these things just all of a sudden show the indications that rotation's back and the tornadic activity or possible tornadic storm may evolve into another tornado warning. But at this point, we just have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. But I don't want to just say just that severe thunderstorm warning, because winds of 60 or 70 miles an hour can do as much damage as a low-end tornadoes. I mean, these storms definitely need to have your attention. And David was pointing out the storms that are over our area around Greene and Washington County extend all the way back toward Knoxville, where there is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning in effect, meaning that there could be winds with these storms of 80 miles per hour or higher. And those storms running from Clear Springs south toward Kodak, and then pretty close to the Pigeon Forge and Maryville area right through here. And these are moving off to the east, and those would be moving into, again, Hamlin County, perhaps, and then also maybe Greene County and Cocke County, and also possibly even this northern part of the storm could then move in again across areas of Hancock County and Hawkins County. So even though the severe thunderstorm warning that we've been rightly focusing in on, that has the possible damaging winds and did have that possible tornado in Greene and Washington County, this probably is going to, within the next half hour, become our next concern as it pushes off to the east. So there's going to be another line of storms, and this one looks to be, when we see kind of this configuration of our storm like that, that is usually a sign of some strong winds. We get that bowing structure on the severe thunderstorm line, and that will be pushing in to our viewing area as well. So there's kind of the imminent, the right now severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place for especially now Washington County, Tennessee.
Yeah, so that heavy rain's moving into Johnson City.
We'll have another round coming in probably behind that as well. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But all right, so we do have the storm tracker now on the road, and meteorologist Kit Alexander is going to be joining us right now with some live video now of these storms in the Johnson City area. Not sure if he what does he have?
So yeah, guys, right now we're looking at it right here in Johnson City. We're on a parking lot here, pretty close to the Food City, in Johnson City right now, and you can definitely tell the winds are definitely gusting out here. In fact, wouldn't be surprised, especially since we're under the severe thunderstorm warning. Likely we'll see some gusts, possibly up to 60 miles per hour with this. I'll take another look here at radar to kind of see what we're looking at. So yeah, we're on the north end of this storm right there, kind of on western Johnson City, pretty close to west state of Franklin. Looking at the Chick-fil-A there. Right now, just looking at some areas of heavier rain. But this is an area earlier. We were definitely under a tornado warning just to the west in parts of Greene County, the one that y'all been talking about in the air. Now, this current area not under a tornado warning, and actually not even currently under a severe thunderstorm. Well, yeah, we're still under a severe thunderstorm warning, actually, right here in Johnson City. But notice, definitely looking at some gusty winds out here right now. And, of course, the heavier rain, we'll be kind of dealing with that. We're going to take another drive up this direction on west state of Franklin. You can kind of get an idea of kind of all the rain that we are looking at. Yeah, notice traffic's still moving along just fine, but definitely some heavy areas of rain and, of course, wind at times. Like I mentioned, this area is under a severe thunderstorm warning, but not currently under a tornado warning. However, the storm did have some rotation a little bit ago and, of course, was under a tornado warning off to the west, but right now just a severe thunderstorm warning. But nonetheless, still monitoring some heavier rain and some wind out here. So, guys, we'll send it back to you guys there.
All right, thanks, Kit.
Let's go back to downtown Jonesboro. I've got the camera up because those winds are continuing to increase. Yeah.
And we see that some of the heaviest rain is from Jonesboro over to ETSU, southward to Lamar, Embryville, and moving into Irwin, also around Rocky Fork and the Tennessee Welcome Center is where some of the heaviest rain and potentially strongest winds. So we do have that severe thunderstorm warning in place for this area. It's in effect until 3:15. We're getting a new warning here. It's coming in.
And so as we go back to radar, we can show you the area where Kit was in Johnson City, and Teresa's got that Jonesboro camera right here. It appears that Jonesboro and Johnson City are right on the northern part of the intense storm that has that severe thunderstorm warning in effect, and that will also continue into areas of Carter County and areas of Unicoi County as we continue to push into the next 15 minutes to a half hour. The severe thunderstorm warnings, some new ones, are now pushing, this is looking like the new one right through here, which does include up to, well, just the very western tip, it looks like, of Greene County. So that line of storms that we were referring to that comes in after the storm that's pushing into Unicoi County and moving through Washington County, moving into Carter County, the next line of storms is pushing into, and the new warning that David is referring to is the one that is now pushing into because of this line of storms here. Just give you a reference point. There's Pigeon Forge, there's Knoxville, there's Kodak, there's Jefferson City, and this line of storms is pushing off. Is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning as well?
It is, and it is technically in effect for far western Greene County. It is moving to the east at 50 miles an hour. The core of the intense cell is still to the west. This is a heads up in Greene County, although it's far western Greene County that's in that warning. But if I track this part of the cell that has the 80-mile-an-hour winds with it, or potentially hurricane force wind gust, if it holds together and stays as its current path and speed, it'll be around Pigeon Forge by 2:50, moving into Warrensburg about 3:04. And again, if it holds together, it could be moving into Greenville around 3:20 or so. So we're going to be watching this line that has a destructive severe thunderstorm warning with it. It's in place from Kodak all the way into far western Greene County around Warrensburg for now, but that could be expanded a little bit later on, Dave.
Okay, and so let's go back to the storm that is impacting areas of Washington, Carter, and Greene County, and Unicoi County. So this is the cell that did have a tornado warning with it about half an hour ago. The dangerous part of the storm now we just got a new scan here of the wind velocity and direction, and you got some pretty broad circulation, not necessarily enough to cause the bells and whistles to go off for a tornado warning, but we get any time along here, if we get brief intensification, we can get the rotation to develop along that area. So just be mindful that there is no tornado warning, but certainly damaging thunderstorm wind gusts to 60 miles per hour is possible with this storm, and we're still looking at just a huge amounts of lightning with this storm. Now, almost a little over 900 strikes within that box that we had drawn, David had drawn on the map there. So very intense lightning. So this right now is right along Interstate 81. And it looks like the intense part of the storm is going to be from near and south of Johnson City, especially, and then pushing east into Carter County, maybe staying near into the south of Elizabethton. So I would say heads up from Elizabethton to Hampton to Tiger Valley and Carter County, then points east along Roan Mountain, and especially now from near Jonesboro south of Lamar to Irwin and Unicoi. Interstate 26 is not a good place to be right now as far as intense rain and that dangerous lightning, but also the possibility of some damaging winds from that severe storm as it continues to move through that part of Unicoi County and also Washington and into now into parts of Carter County. All right, so David, you have put a wind gust up there. Right now we're going to show you a live look of South Roan Street here from Johnson City, not Johnson County. Yeah, the Food City parking lot here along South Roan in Johnson City, not Johnson County, but still kind of what we would expect, that the heavier rain pushing near and to the south, on the near south side of Johnson City, points southward, where we have that severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go back, and David, you had that wind field up there. There's the severe thunderstorm warning.
Let me pull it back up here, because we're getting some radar estimates of 60 to occasionally 70-mile-an-hour winds. Of course, this is at radar level, but occasionally some of these winds can come down to the surface. So some very strong winds around the Tennessee Welcome Center, moving into the Irwin area, and further to the north we have the heavy rain, Unicoi over to Okolona.
And so I think if we go to Max 2, Teresa's put up a picture of that tornadic warned storm as it was coming through Marion, Virginia. This shot here from Joshua showing the clouds that were, really ominous looking. Likely we had some strong winds in the Marion area, and that storm has since left Smith County, the severe part of that storm. Smith County, it's been pushing probably east of Wythe County by now. But I wanted to just show you that picture. We do want to say, when it's safe to do so, we do appreciate your pictures, your video, your storm reports. And you can do that at wcyb.com/chime-in. Help us tell the weather story as it occurs after it's safe to do so in your location. Now, I believe we're going to take another live look here from Johnson City, South Roan, Food City parking lot on South Roan Street. This, again, the storm tracker. Kit Alexander is out and about, and we'll continue to monitor those storms as they continue across that part of Greene County, Washington County, Unicoi, not so much Greene County, but Washington County, Unicoi, and Carter County of East Tennessee, where we have those severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. But David, you had something you wanted to point out?
Yeah, we just got a storm report from the Knoxville airport of a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. That was at 2:35 or 2:36. So we are getting verified reports of high winds along that line. So the most intense wind in East Tennessee is around Dandridge to Sevierville and Pigeon Forge, where there is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning in place. And we still have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect in our viewing areas now for southern Greene County, southern Washington County, Tennessee, most of Carter County, and all of Unicoi County. This is in place till 3:15 for the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, quarter-sized hail, tornado possible. I'm still seeing some rotation on radar right now, it looks like the strongest rotation.
Still, that's
near
still
Irwin.
is something we got to keep an eye on there around the Nolichucky River, Temple Hill Road, Tennessee Welcome Center back to the southwest there, but Lost Cove, there's Rock Creek Road, and then up toward the Irwin area, Jackson Love Highway of the Unicoi County Hospital and Shallowford. So this whole area right here, we see the green colors and the red colors. We got the kind of a broad area of shear showing up, just maybe not tight enough for a tornado warning, but like we've been pointing out, the severe thunderstorm warnings that have been in effect have mostly been coming with tornado possibles, just something that that can change a severe thunderstorm warning to a tornado warning in a short period of time. That's why the National Weather Service puts that little tag on the warning saying that that is a possibility, just not necessary at this point for a tornado warning. So certainly some strong damaging just thunderstorm gusts of wind that might be around 60 miles per hour would be possible as the storm continues to move across areas of, especially, I would say the most dangerous part of this storm now is right over Unicoi County, and also moving through the southern portion of Carter County from near Hampton and just to the west of Roan Mountain up to Elizabethton. It looks like the severe winds would probably be just to the south of Elizabethton, toward Okolona perhaps, and then right along the Interstate 26 zone of Unicoi County, impacting very hard now Irwin and Unicoi, as well as areas around Flag Pond, heading up toward the North Carolina border along Interstate 26. There, just leave it for there just a moment. That picture that we had of the clouds and the storm over Smith County, that was when that storm here was over Marion and did have a tornado warning with it. We can take a quick peek on Max 2 and just show you, first off, the storm itself, what it looked like as it was coming through Smith County. Now it is a severe thunderstorm warning and pushing off to the east. So this is part of the storms that we also had the kind of the rotation, that video picture, that viewer video of the kind of the turbulent sky over Bristol. That was taken, about a half hour to an hour ago probably, and that storm is kind of in two parts here near just to the northeast of Mountain City into Ashe County, and then coming back into Smith County and right along the Washington-Smith County line. Not being severe at this point, but something we'll have to keep an eye on. But right now, of course, our focus is on these intense storms racing across East Tennessee. The storms that are impacting our viewing area that have a warning with them right through here, especially now, I would say, for Unicoi County and the southern part of Carter County. Maybe not so much severe wind at this point in the western part of the warning here in Greene and Washington County. But I would say right here from areas along Interstate 26, from near Mars Hill and Flag Pond toward Irwin and Unicoi up to near Johnson City and then into Carter County. That's where our possible wind damage from the severe thunderstorms would be most likely at this point. And then eventually we've got that warning also into the mountains of North Carolina as well. Those storms are racing off to the east. But of concern also is the expanding area of storms that has been racing across East Tennessee. And as David mentioned, as this line of storms, just a little while ago, it was over Knoxville, which is right here. So this tells you how fast they are moving. And Knoxville at the McGee Tyson Airport did have a wind gust to 60 miles per hour, I believe. And these storms are racing off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. This is the text of the dangers and locations of this storm. Hail size up to an inch, but there potentially is 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this storm, stretching from near, I would say the dangerous winds would be from near Jefferson City, south along Interstate 40, and then extending along Highway 441, and then impacting the Pigeon Forge area right now in Sevier County, would be then moving into kind of giving a glancing blow to Hamlin County and then into all of Cott County and eventually back into Greene County as well. A small part of Greene County right here, the northwest part of northwesternmost part of Greene County is under that severe thunderstorm warning, but I'm pretty confident that as this line of storms continues to push eastward at about 45 to 50, it's not going to be that long before we see this line of storms replace this one as our main concern, and we'll likely see new warnings coming into Greene County and Hamblin. I think Hamlin County is already in the warning, and into Cott County as well, and then continuing to push across Greene, and maybe some of these same areas that got round 1 of the severe weather are going to be getting round 2 of severe weather, and that the line of storms is being warned for also. Not necessarily for destructive 80-mile-an-hour winds, but probably up to 60-mile-an-hour winds in the northern part of that storm to near New Tazewell. Those storms are moving off to the east and would be pushing into Hancock and Hawkins County, you know, within the hour as well. So we're likely going to see another round of strong and severe storms moving through northeast Tennessee after this initial round moves through, and will take us, for example, up to around New Tazewell, which is right here, you know, within the next couple of minutes, and then Moorestown around 3:01, and Thornhill about 3:05, Whitesburg around 3:16, Bulls Gap around 3:19, Rogersville around 3:33, Idson around 3:36, and Bayleton around 3:43. So we're talking in less than an hour, that line of storms is going to be pushing into our viewing area again from the west. So just a heads up. And that storm is being warned for possible 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Now it does look like this initial area of severe storms is pushing through Unicoi County and also through southern and central portions of Carter County. So this is basically from about Hampton and Roan Mountain, and then extending just near a little bit west of Roan Mountain, and then into Unicoi County. There's Unicoi, there's Irwin, there's the Beauty Spot, and Davis Springs, and still a lot of lightning, but right now, within the next 15 minutes to a half hour, this line of storms is going to be pushing into, and already is sort of, not quite there yet, but it's already pushing into North Carolina. And then that element of this storm will no longer be a threat for severe winds. However, we're going to have to stay and continue to cover this line of storms that is firing back to our west and to our southwest, which already has confirmed reports of some wind reaching severe criteria in the Knoxville area within the past half hour to 45 minutes.
And checking out the power outage map, so far we have 2,500 customers without power in Greene County. So far, not many elsewhere in the viewing area, but back to the west, there are about 5,000 out in Jefferson County and almost 50,000 out in Knox County. So that is that line of storms that's moving toward Newport, has a history of producing wind damage and knocking out 50,000 customers in Knox County, and that's pushing to the east. Right now, the destructive severe thunderstorm warning for the Newport area and far western Greene County, but at this rate, it's probably going to be extended eastward, I'm thinking, Dave.
Yeah, I would say a little question that we're probably going to have severe thunderstorm warnings back into a large part of Greene County. Maybe that northern end also involves Hawkins and Hancock County, and also into Cott County. So this line of storms imminently impacting areas of Unicoi and into Carter County has pushed into Yancey, Mitchell and Yancey counties in North Carolina, and extending into Madison County as well. So we have severe thunderstorm warnings in this area of North Carolina for this line of storms as well. The severe thunderstorm warning continues in Unicoi County and also the central southern part of Carter County until 3:15. So just for another 15 minutes or so. This severe warning, I would say the severe wind threat with this line is no longer, is not going to produce any more severe winds in Greene and Washington County, but there are new storms developing back to the west that certainly could fire and cause more concern for severe weather in these same areas that have already seen a first round of severe weather here this afternoon, David.
And the severe thunderstorm warning was just updated to take some locations out. So the warning still includes Lamar, most of Unicoi County, including Irwin, Unicoi, and then up around Okolona, Hampton, and Roan Mountain. So just shaving off the back end of that warning. So Johnson City, not in the severe thunderstorm warning, but we do have some heavy rains around Johnson City.
We were talking about Knoxville area receiving those very strong winds. We received some viewer video from Knoxville, and check this out. Look at
Wow,
how
that's
strong
impressive.
those winds are, blowing that rain across as well.
Yeah, I mean, that right there tells you the impact of these storms. I mean, that is some really strong winds, Teresa.
Yes.
And that looks like, just looking at that, at least 50 or 60 mile an hour wind gusts with that line of storms as coming through the Knoxville area. Thanks to Matthew for sharing that video with us. I believe we also have a map now, a power outage map that we can take a look at. They're telling me in my ear that we can take a look at. This is a Bright Ridge map here showing power outages around the Boones Creek and Bowmantown area and Jonesboro and Lamar, Limestone, I can see that, northeast Johnson City, down through the Pine Crest and southeast part of Johnson City, and also the Telford area. So we're seeing some increase of power outages in Washington County, Tennessee, according to this latest outage map from Bright Ridge. So that is showing us some impact of power now across the area, David.
And we have a new storm report coming in from the southern part of Washington County, Tennessee, around Embryville. Report of some trees uprooted or snapped and a roof blown off. So that is in the Embryville area south of Telford. So that was...
what time was that? That was not that long ago, because
Right.
those storms have been racing east,
Yes,
and
let me
they're now
check that
pushing
again.
through basically.
Yeah, 247. So that was just minutes ago.
And I'm sure there's probably more to come as far as storm reports, but this relayed to us via the National Weather Service, and that those storms continue to move through Unicoi and Carter County, especially right now, and into the mountains of North Carolina. But more storm reports, David, from earlier, as these storms that we're watching now come in from earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, so these are the storms that are going to be pushing into Greene County eventually, but earlier around 215 in the Farragut area of Knox County, they had some tree and roof damage along near I-40 and Level Road, and several trees and power lines down. And then I mentioned the wind gust to 60 miles an hour at the Knoxville airport. So these storms have a history of producing damage, and here's the latest radar.
Power out in Shady. We just received a message about some power outages.
Where was that, Teresa? I didn't hear where you said.
Let me go back to it here.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue what you were.
So we're just kind of the new concern is that secondary line of storms that is beginning to advance into our part of East Tennessee, moving really quickly. I mean, it wasn't too long ago it was over the Knoxville area, and the new warnings that continue in effect until 3:45. This warning flashing now is in effect here from areas near and just to the south of Morristown, and then we got the little right through here. I would say that has the likelihood of some damaging wind gusts right now, and the warning that's in effect until 3:45 for the second wave of severe storms does include areas around Briarwood Safari Ranch, the Newport area, Dandridge, White Pines, Warrensburg. Small part of Greene County in this warning until 3:45. A large part of Cott County already in for the severe thunderstorm warning until 3:45, including areas near Del Rio and also Newport, and then extending west as well. And so as we've been pointing out, it's likely we're going to have that severe thunderstorm warning impacting and extended eastward into Greene County. And here's the flood advisory that has been issued. We've seen a lot of heavy rain developing with these storms, and in addition to that threat of severe wind damage. And this does continue until 5:45, a flood advisory for parts of Hawkins County and also Hamblin County and a good part of Greene County and Washington County into Unicoi County and the northern part of Cocke County. This is indicative of low-lying areas, poor drainage areas, those areas that typically flood, and of course streams and creeks that may have been running high, obviously from recent rains, all compounding the problem that may result into some possible road closures. Just be mindful of that, as well as some street flooding in the cities, and that can cause some. All right, so we're going to also talk about a quick look at the flash flood warning, which is a more urgent flood alert that does include areas from Morristown to Newport. You can see here estimates of almost 3.5 to 4 inches of rain in this afternoon across parts of northern Cocke County and into areas of central and western Greene County, 1 to 2 inches, maybe a little bit more, and then that extends up toward Morristown and Jefferson City toward Clear Springs. We've got that heavy rain that is likely resulting in some at least minor flooding, but it bodes well not to be traveling through flooded areas if you encounter water over a roadway. But I do believe we're going to take a look now at a live look from Carter County. Kit Alexander is on the storm tracker. And Kit, what are you encountering now? So this is in Carter.
All right, so right now we are in the storm tracker here on Highway 321, going southbound, heading like we're heading towards Elizabethton right now. We've had some areas of heavier rain that's been moving through, and as we've been looking at radar, thankfully things are weakening up. It is not as strong as what we had earlier when we had some of those individual supercell-like storms that were rolling through both Smith County and earlier in parts of Greene County. Now, this whole line has been pushing off to the east, and as we're looking out here right now, you notice on 321, mainly traffic's moving along just fine. We've had several areas and clusters of heavy areas of rain. The storm that's went through all of these areas has been weakening as it does so, obviously heading in towards some of the higher elevations, in towards the mountains. But right here on 321, mainly just looking at rain. Traffic is still moving along fine, and we are on the edge of what is a severe thunderstorm that is just actually right off to the south, including parts of Hampton and other parts of Carter County into Roan Mountain. But we're just north of that, and also just south of Watauga. But notice as we look right now, heading towards Elizabeth, and mainly just some areas of heavy rain. And that is good. That is what we want. We certainly don't want the storms that we've had earlier and some of those more dangerous ones. But for now, as we're looking here live, things looking pretty good. I'll go ahead and send it back to y'all guys in the studio.
All right, thanks, Kit. In the storm tracker in Carter County, southbound, getting close to Hampton, he relayed that information. And at least in that part of Carter County, the rain has let up a little bit. However, we are still concerned about this new area of storms. That is, looks like, David, did we get a new warning for that?
Yes, we did.
And that does include, as we mentioned, would likely happen, Greene, Washington, Unicoi County as well.
If there's anything that's a little positive about this, is that it's not a destructive severe thunderstorm warning.
That's good.
However, it's still going to have some gusts to 60 miles an hour and very heavy rain, getting more and more concerned about the flood potential in Greene County.
Exactly.
As there's already a flood advisory in place and there's more heavy rain moving in. But if we look at the radar replay, the storms don't look quite as intense as they were over Knoxville and Kodak as they move into Greene County. But another severe thunderstorm warning in place for basically all of Greene County. And this next warning includes most of Washington County, Tennessee, and also includes Johnson City. So this warning in effect until 3:45 also includes into Unicoi County. So parts of Unicoi County, and 2 warnings at the same time for 2 different storms. But the first one moving out, it's closer to Roan Mountain now, the heavy rain, Roan Mountain, and beginning to push out of the viewing area on that first.
So Kit was probably about right through here. So he was in the lighter portion of that storm. He was
Yeah.
you know, moving south of Elizabethton, and so the heavier part of that storm is now moving through the eastern southern part of Carter County near Roan Mountain, heading into Avery County, North Carolina. So really the danger for the high winds with this storm is now moving into North Carolina, the southern part of Carter County. But as you mentioned, this new area of storms resulting in another broad area under a severe thunderstorm warning. What time was that one for, David? I forgot what you said, but anyway, it does include areas of Greene County and Cott County, most of Greene County. In fact, all of this area right through here is yet again under a severe thunderstorm warning, and this until 3:45 this afternoon. And that does also, while it has yet to move into Greenville or Jonesboro or South Central, etc., this here is moving in this direction, and this is not the first storm to move through this area. We had some tremendous activity come through about an hour ago, and we have a lot of potential for some heavy rain again in this area, and for that reason, a flood has it been upgraded to a flash flood warning?
It has, yes.
Okay, so we have a flash flood warning that's been upgraded from a flood advisory to a flash flood warning. So just be prepared if you live in a flood-prone zone to move to safety and into higher ground if necessary. But especially be cautious when, first of all, when you got these blinding rains occurring, to avoid travel, and be prepared if you need to seek higher ground. But just perhaps avoid travel in this areas. We've had estimates of 2 to 3+ inches of rain already today, and with even some of the heavier rain through parts of Cott County there near into the north of Parrottsville and Newport. So there could be obviously some very serious flooding in the flood-prone zones, and could be some local roads that are being impacted by high water currently. And remember, it was this area, for example, last week in the Greenville and Tusculum area that had upwards of 3 to 6 inches of rain, which resulted in some significant flooding from that event. And same areas now are getting kind of these repeat rains now across areas of Greene County. Looks like the heaviest rain now is stretching from near and just to the north and near Greenville, and extending down towards St. James, and then all the way down toward the mountains near Camp Creek, etc., and pretty close to Viking Mountain right now, and also into Cott County, where we showed you where Power 5 Doppler radar was indicating some spots have picked up 3 to 4 inches of rain in this zone right through here. So just be aware. We've got a severe, that's kind of a two-pronged danger right now, in addition to the possibility of some strong straight line winds up to 60 miles per hour with the storm in Greene County and Cott County. We also have that flash flood warning in effect that could be resulting now with this second dose of this intense rainfall training over these same areas of some flash flooding, which can be dangerous as well. So a hard knock or two now continuing across Greene County, and David, looks like we could still see some strong winds as well.
Yeah, let's check this out. I also want to mention that flash flood warning for Greene County is in place until 5:30. The latest on these wind speeds moving back into Greene County, seeing some more areas from St. James northward to near Mossheim, a few pockets of 70-mile-an-hour winds at radar level. So we're still, and this is moving to the east. And unfortunately, the ground is very saturated, and it won't take but maybe a 40 or 50-mile-an-hour wind to knock down some trees and power lines. So the ground is so saturated, so concerned about damaging winds at a lower threshold because of how much rain is coming down right now.
And that storm, while moving off to the east pretty quickly, still has a pretty good width to it. I mean, this whole zone right through here, stretching across really almost from east to west across Greene County. So it's going to be at least probably, a good half hour or so of, maybe not on the western side, we'll let up earlier, but there's a good half hour, 40 minutes, maybe not quite that much, but of some heavy rain where it's falling the heaviest from the time it starts with this second round. So that is going to compound our concern for the possibility of some flash flooding in Greene County as well. Now, these are rainfall rates that we're plotting, David's plotting on there right now. This is like if it rained at the level that it is for an hour, this is how much would fall. And you can see the rainfall rates are ranging anywhere from about 2.5 inches per hour here near the Cock and Greene County line, 1.71 inches per hour, St. James in Greene County. Even some of this activity, while not being warned for right now for severe weather, some intense rain is developing in a band here across Sullivan County, extending back west toward Colonial Heights and Churchill and Burgensville, in Sullivan and Hawkins, and also the southern part of Scott County along the Tennessee and Virginia state line. This area, David, does not have a severe thunderstorm warning. I imagine maybe there is a strong thunderstorm alert in effect, but at this point, certainly some very heavy rain. Here's a live look from Dobbins Bennett High School in Kingsport, where the rain is coming down pretty hard, and the heavy rain in the Kingsport area is kind of running from the south and west parts of the city right now, so it's lifting to the north. So our friends, our viewers in Kingsport can anticipate a good amount of rain, some occasional lightning, possibly some gusty winds as well with these storms as they continue to push off to the east. And we do anticipate these storms to have some gusty winds as well, even though we do not have any severe thunderstorm warning now for the Churchill or Kingsport area. But you can see from our volunteer high school camera that some heavy rain, or at least some rain, is falling in this zone as well. But Power 5 Doppler radar has definitely showed an expansion of the rain in this part of Sullivan County and Hawkins County. Some very heavy amounts of rain continue to fall here in Sullivan County, as well as the western part of Hawkins County and southern areas of Scott County around Gate City and Kingsport, toward the Tri-Cities Airport, Colonial Heights, just to the south of Bristol. But the severe thunderstorm warnings continue in effect. This initial one here, I'd say, with the exception of the extreme east parts of Carter County, this storm now really a danger for our viewers in North Carolina. But this next area of storms continues to race across areas of Greene County real quickly. It's moving very fast. As you pointed out, David, if you could maybe pull back and show what this kind of looked like when it was, maybe it won't go back that far, when it looked like when we had those that 80-mile-an-hour destructive wind, wording in the severe thunderstorm warning when it came through here, and just show here, this was really looking ominous right through here from the Smokies, Maryville, Knoxville up toward Clinton, and then just kind of see how that has been progressing eastward. That was about 2 o'clock, and you can see that segment of the storm definitely has shown signs of weakening in regard to the real destructive wind potential, but we still have a severe thunderstorm warning in Greene County, as well as into Cott County, yet to move back into Unicoi and Washington County. But that severe thunderstorm warning for this storm, now moving through Greene County, will be moving back into Washington and Unicoi County that just got hit really hard with that high wind potential and the heavy rain. So we're still keeping an eye on that portion of the storm for strong, possibly winds up to maybe 60 miles per hour, but also some very heavy amounts of rain, which, as we had pointed out, there's a flash flood warning in effect in the darker shade of green here, which is a step up from the flood advisory as far as the urgency of the situation. But across the southern half of Greene County, in parts of Cott County, there is a flash flood warning in effect until 5:30, and then this is this new, or that flood advisory came out a little while ago too, did?
Yeah, that was from earlier, but the flood advisory for the areas north and east, from Bulls Gap to John City, there's a flood advisory for until 5:45. So that's more for minor flooding or flood-prone areas. Some street flooding possible, but we're more concerned about the flash flood warning that's in place from Greenville, Tusculum, Camp Creek, Warrensburg, St. James, all these locations. And so we check out the radar estimates. They're continuing to come up, and parts of Greene County now over 2 inches of rain estimated, but sometimes you can get these locally heavier amounts.
And this area here north of Newport.
Yeah, northern Cott County, they have seen even more. If I go back, it includes 6 hours. we see 3 to 4 inches of rain.
And so, I mean, this is just, you know, this afternoon, right? I mean, that...
Yeah, that's the past 6 hours.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's a ton of rain already falling on some areas. Now, these areas in Cott County didn't get as much as Greene County last week, but parts of, especially the central part of Greene County picked up several inches of rain, especially around the Greenville-Tusculum area, some even locally up to a half a foot of rain. And then so we're seeing this rain come back over these hard-hit areas, and hence the flash flood warning that are in effect. I do believe we have, tell me again what we're going to be looking at. All right, so if we can go to Max 2 and take a look at some viewer video. This is from Deb. From Damascus, Virginia. We had a little while ago, we showed you those storms that kind of popped up in the Bristol and Sullivan County area and then continued to push off to the northeast into Washington County, Virginia. This video of those storms as they came through Damascus as the storms were building in that part of Washington County, Virginia. And this is from Deb. Thank you, Deb, and doing it safely. Appreciate you sharing that with us at WCYB.com/chime-in is how you can upload your pictures, your video of the storms or storm damage as it may occur in your area. But again, the nature of these storms has been anything from, you know, destructive winds or damaging winds to some very intense lightning and some very heavy amounts of rain from these storms. And I believe we're going to go back to Doppler radar and give another update, David.
Yeah, checking on the power situation. Only about 190 customers without power as of last check in Washington County, Tennessee, 166 without power in Unicoi. But Greene County, about 2,000 outages. And Jefferson County, they're now up to 10,000 customers without power. And Knox County, 53,000 customers without power.
And that was when that big Boeing structure on that line of storms we showed about 5 minutes ago, that's when this complex of storms was at its peak as far as the strong winds. So that's why in Jefferson County and in Knox County, we've got you know, significantly more power outages, at least so far reported, because the storms with the wind potential have definitely weakened regard to that. However, still very intense rain, and there still is a severe thunderstorm warning for possible dangerous winds with this storm. But from a perspective of what we're seeing on Doppler radar, it's not nearly as violent wind as it was maybe an hour ago or so when it was coming through the Knoxville area. But still, we've got some big storms now firing up in Sullivan County and Hawkins County and also Scott County in northeast Tennessee. And we probably could take a look at maybe some of our cameras in the Kingsport area. Maybe we can put those up. And actually, we got some a photo here, I believe. We got one ready also on Max 2. But here's Dobbins-Bennett. We probably got not only some heavy rain here, but also areas of East Stone Drive getting hit hard right now. Very heavy amounts of rain coming down currently with sheets of rain. Very, well, not pleasant driving conditions in Kingsport right now with that heavy rain. And it's pretty widespread across the Kingsport area, Colonial Heights, and east into a good part of Sullivan County right now, as well as eastern Hawkins County. This is along Interstate 81, mile marker 59 in the Fort Henry Drive section of the Interstate 81 corridor. Some heavy rain falling there, and look at Dobbins-Bennett again. So the heavy rain is falling, and at this point the wind damage is not necessarily going to be widespread from this storm in Sullivan and Hawkins and Scott County where the heavy rain is, but if they flare up a little bit, then that possibly a warning might be issued. But at this point, heavy rain and some gusty winds and possibly some small hail appear to be the main threat from this storm now in Sullivan County and also eastern Hawkins County around Church Hill toward Mount Carmel, Bloomingdale, Colonial Heights, and extending all the way east now, you know, toward the Tri-City Airport and the Bluff City area. Bristol getting a little bit of a break right now, but we do have a picture now on Max 2 as the storm was coming through and continues to come through Kingsport and Mount Carmel area along the Hawkins and Sullivan Hawkins and Sullivan County line. Just a very heavy amount of rain coming down through here, and just the ominous nature of the clouds here, showing the turbulence that is associated with these storms, and why the concern has been there for not only the heavy rain, lightning, but also some strong winds. At this point, this storm not producing that we are aware of severe wind gusts, but certainly some gusty winds are possible. But the severe thunderstorm warning that is continuing, I believe, until 3:45. That does include areas of Cott County and Greene County, Washington County, up to and including areas as far north as Jonesboro and Johnson City, all of Unicoi County, and the western most sections of Carter County. That severe thunderstorm warning until 3:45. Those warnings do extend into North Carolina as well, and embedded within the severe thunderstorm warning is that secondary but very important concern also is the possibility of some flash flooding in that green area that was highlighted over top of the severe thunderstorm warning, right through here, where some areas, according to Power 5 Doppler radar estimation, have seen locally up to 2 to 4 inches. And that area runs from especially near into the west and south of Greenville. Greenville looks like around 2+ inches of rain estimated this afternoon, but all the way back into areas along the Greene and Cott County line, even more in those red areas of up to 3 to 4 inches of rain. And that's why we do have that flash flood warning that is in effect for parts of Cott County and central and southern Greene County until 5:30 this afternoon, this evening. So the line of storms that still has the potential wind is now pushing east of Greenville, but moving into the western part of Washington County, Tennessee. General rains do extend back into the Pigeon Forge and Morristown area, but it appears that this area here, the second wave of storms, is the severe threat over the next hour as they continue to push east. And we've been kind of highlighting this area also, and kind of a new area pushing into western Hawkins and Hancock County. That does not have a warning with it, but there is another little smaller area of clusters of heavy downpours moving back in. But you can see the Kingsport area is definitely getting hammered with some heavy rain. But at this point, the main concern for strong, possibly damaging wind gusts is along that southern part of the line of storms, now pushing through the eastern northern part of Greene County. Really right here along the county line, Greene and Washington County line, is where I think our higher chances of maybe an occasional wind gust that could produce some damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. But also that very heavy rain and some intense lightning with that storm cell, David.
Yeah, we're seeing Doppler radar indicating stronger winds now. Notice how these colors have gotten brighter over Greene County, including around Greenville and Camp Creek and Viking Mountains. So radar is estimating the possibility of 65 to 75 mile-an-hour winds, at least at radar level, and those are pushing to the east. So we are still concerned, especially from Limestone down to South Central. You've already gotten hit, but there's another line of storms pushing east toward Irwin, Unicoi, and we're going to have to keep an eye on Jonesboro too, on there's some strong winds pushing back in. So the severe thunderstorm warning does include Jonesboro, Johnson City. There's ETSU down to Lamar, Limestone, South Central, and all the way down into Unicoi County. So that severe thunderstorm warning continues now until 3:45. Possibility of 60 mile-an-hour winds, radar indicated. And thankfully, the back edge of the rain is approaching, at least the heaviest rain is beginning to move out of Greenville, but there's still some moderate rains to the west around Jefferson City. But then finally, we can get rid of the bulk of the rain later in the afternoon, as it is near Kodak, pushing to the east right now.
So pull back and let's just see if there's anything firing up back to the west. So perhaps, you know, this that's moving through east central Kentucky into West Virginia, and then what's coming through our area now, that may be the extent of our severe potential as we go through the next hour or two. And it looks like this activity here in eastern Kentucky has been increasing as well. Even though this is out of our viewing area, this is pushing off to the east and would be perhaps, you know, influencing areas closer to the Kentucky-Virginia border and Southwest Virginia, you know, within the next hour or so. But at this point, it's moving off to the east, so unless we see some extension southward, this activity would likely stay to the north of most of Southwest Virginia, but I would say with the exception here, maybe Buchanan County, northern Buchanan County might have to keep a closer eye on those storms. But certainly at this time, our major rain that is occurring is impacting areas of the Tri-Cities, and we still have a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Greene County and Washington County and Unicoi County, Cott County, and the western part of Carter County until 3:45, and still that flash flood warning continues in effect for Greene County and Cott County and parts of Hamlin County until 5:30 this evening. I do believe we have our Bristol Motor Speedway camera up right now on Max 2, and the heavy rain has arrived, of course, in many portions of the metro, including right now along Volunteer Highway in Bristol, Tennessee, with some heavy downpours that will be off and on here in Bristol, it looks like, for the next half hour to an hour. No severe thunderstorm warning for this activity, but there will be some periods of some moderate to heavy rainfall, some occasional lightning strikes, and perhaps some gusty winds. But we're entering that time of day when folks are going to be getting ready to come home from work. Just be ready for some, some wet roads. And thankfully, at this point, we don't have any flooding issues in Kingsport, Johnson City, or Bristol, but as these rains continue to move across the area, just be extra cautious on that ride home from work this afternoon, as the rains will probably still be with us here for the next, at least the heavier rains, for the next hour or so, maybe hour and a half. It depends, from west to east, it's going to be tapering off. But we do have certainly some new and expansive development across areas of Hawkins, Sullivan, into Virginia, into parts of Scott and Washington County, Virginia, within the past half hour or so. And those rains continue to move pretty quickly from west to east, with the severe threat continuing, especially now into Washington County, Tennessee, and Unicoi County. It looks like perhaps the heavier wind potential might be now into the eastern most portions of Greene County, as well as the central and southern parts of Washington County, and pushing into Unicoi County right through the zone here, where that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 3:45 this afternoon. Still a good deal of lightning, but it appears perhaps that the frequency of the lightning might be coming down a little bit, David, with these storms over the past 15 minutes or so.
Yes, it's not as intense, but we still have some heavy rains over much of Sullivan County, and still that severe thunderstorm warning. The most intense part of the cell from near Sulphur Springs and Jonesboro down to Telford, Lamar, Embryville, where we've already had some reports of some wind damage, down to Irwin and Flag Pond and Sam's Gap. And still some intense cells on the North Carolina side in Avery County, and also around Bakersville, some torrential rains and potential for some high winds. And we'll get an update now on this severe thunderstorm warning. Trimmed away a little bit, still for 60-mile-an-hour winds. Radar indicated from Johnson City southward to Irwin and all the way down to the state line. And
notable is the hail size, Max, is coming down a little bit as well, down to no bigger than 3/4 inch, which is smaller than quarters. I guess that's about penny. Is that penny size, 3/4?
Yeah.
And so maybe not so much a large hail threat, but still, this is still part of that same line of storms that brought the destructive winds, more so in areas just to the west of the viewing area, but still could have some gusts of wind up to 60 miles per hour as these storms now push out of Greene County, and certainly right through now the heavy rain through Washington County, Tennessee, to near Sulphur Springs and Jonesboro to Johnson City. That area of Washington County southward to Lamar in that severe thunderstorm warning until 3:45 this afternoon for about another 15 minutes. And while we've had the rain lighten up a bit along Interstate 26 here from... All right, and so this is Interstate 26 in Unicoi County. And did you say we were going to be able to go there?
Yeah, Kitts and Unicoi
Okay,
County.
I was kind of low on the volume. So I believe we're going to head along Interstate 26 in Unicoi County. This is traveling south of Johnson City, and Kit Alexander is there with the storm tracker. Kit, how is the weather? What's the wind? What's the rain like right now?
All right, we are live from the storm tracker here. We are on I-26 right in Unicoi County, and actually right in the town of Unicoi. Notice about exit 34 or so. So this is an area right now currently that is under a severe thunderstorm warning. So wind gusts could potentially hit up to 60 miles per hour in spots. And notice, of course, we got the heavy rain right here on I-26. Right here in the lower part of the valley, not seeing as much wind gust. However, as we've seen today, and we've had some storm reports from down this direction already of wind damage from earlier with some of the earlier warnings. So it just takes a few sporadic wind gusts, sometimes up to 60, and obviously that can cause quite a few issues. But right now we're looking at a lot of heavy rain here in Unicoi County. Traffic is still moving along just fine, but the rain is definitely heavy at times. And in spots, we've seen some of the rain and the heavy water ponding up in certain spots, obviously. And of course, we still have heavy rain off to the west, as Dave and David and everybody have been covering there in the studio. Some heavier areas of rain just to the west of here. All of that is poised to move off to the east. That will be moving over. This is the same area that we're at right now. But notice, still looking at some heavier rain here in Unicoi County. We're about mile marker 36, and we're still under a severe thunderstorm warning here, but traffic is still moving along just fine. Right now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio for some more storm coverage.
All right, thanks, Kit. Yeah, and as you were talking about, there is another wave of heavier rain taking aim at Unicoi County. So you are kind of in a bit of a lull, but as you continue to drive south, I would imagine you said you're near Unicoi about right here, and you're heading in this direction. So certainly not as intense of a rain as it was a little while ago, but Kit will be encountering, and our viewers will be encountering some more heavy rain as he continues to travel south toward Irwin. But we do have some heavy rain impacting areas of Washington County. Looks like you just kind of here in the Johnson City area and Jonesboro toward Limestone along 11E, and then south to near Lamar, a little bit to the east of South Central. Here's a view of some rain now in the Jonesboro area. Looks like a pretty decent rain shower. The wind doesn't look particularly strong in the downtown area right now, but the storms are continuing to push through this general area of Washington County, Tennessee. I do believe we have some new viewer video that we can show you from the Greenville area.
Yes.
On Max 2. Teresa, is that right?
Yeah, this is from Brianna Hall from Greenville, and this was taken just a little bit ago. You can see some heavy rain and those very strong winds impacting Greenville area. So a little bit, you can see all of that wind and that rain blowing as well. So that moved through Greenville just a little bit ago. So thank you, Brianna, for submitting that great video. And we'd love to get your photos and videos. Log on to WCYB.com, click on Chime In, and upload them.
All right, thanks, Teresa. So here's the latest storm reports, and now we're going to pop on radar again and just give you a kind of an overview of what we've got going on right now.
Yeah, I was checking this out. There's really nothing new on the storm reports right now, but I'm continuing to watch there, Dave.
All right, and so, an overview of what's happening on radar currently. We do have those severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for parts of Washington County and also Unicoi County and the western part of Carter County. But as you noted, David, you've got the lightning on here, and if you look, and if you go back here, if we maybe stop it back here when it was coming through Morristown and Kodak and Newport and put the lightning on there, can we put the lightning in and just show how there was one cluster of intense lightning that came through with the initial line of storms across parts of East Tennessee. All right, and so you can see how the lightning strikes have decreased as they've been pushing through East Tennessee in Washington and Unicoi County. So that usually signifies that there has been some overall weakening of the storm. But we are going to take another view. This is a look at Unicoi County here, and there's Washington County, Embryville. Here's Unicoi County, and we're going to take a look at the storm tracker. This is in Unicoi County. Kit Alexander, of course, has been giving us live reports throughout the afternoon on the storm tracker. And they have come they are now no longer on Interstate 26.
But still in the Irwin area.
Yeah, so we do have the heavy rain continuing to fall in this part of Unicoi County. Again, this is a live look at the storm tracker, and Kit Alexander is in with not driving the vehicle, so we're not worried about that, but he is in there providing us the live coverage of this storm as it is now moving through areas of Unicoi County. And David, the rain is heavy. It looks like a little bit of some wash of the rocks over the highway there, and we do have some flood advisories in effect for Unicoi County and Washington County and Greene County, even a flash flood warning for the south and central parts of Greene County as well. So just be on the lookout. You know, we've got a lot of mountain roads, we've got steep grades, we've got areas that could experience perhaps at least some minor rock slides or mudslide that just will give way because of the recent heavy rainfall in some of these areas. And even though that may not be a flooded road, that can be a road that might get some debris on it from that, or just some just some ponding of water and in some low-lying areas that could just flood because of the heavy rain, David.
And going back over to Max 1 and on Doppler radar, I wanted to mention about these severe thunderstorm warnings in North Carolina. And this is a considerable severe thunderstorm warning for 70-mile-an-hour winds. And it includes Avery County and also Mitchell and Yancey counties until 4:15. We see some of the most intense part of the storm just south and east of Newland. But do want to mention that that is the mid-tier of the severe thunderstorm warnings. And back into northeast Tennessee, still have the severe thunderstorm warning until 3:45, just a few more minutes for Johns City, Jonesboro, and Irwin. And we're also getting downpours further to the north. No warnings on these cells, but we still have some heavy rains that are moving through much of Sullivan County and the Bristol area, pushing to the east.
Yeah, coming down here pretty hard. I can hear it on our roof here at WCYB in downtown Bristol. I've heard it heavier when you can hardly hear yourself. But we do have some heavy rain now across the downtown area. And here are some of the rainfall estimates during the course of this afternoon. Lighter amounts where the rain has really kind of started within the past hour, but still even some spots have picked up over a half inch to around an inch, even in parts of Sullivan County and Hawkins County. But still areas that have that flash flood warning in effect until 5:30. This is why, because this is additional rainfall this afternoon. You know, most of this has come within the past couple of hours or so, and much of the central and southern parts of Greene County have picked up 2+ inches of rain locally, up to 4 inches of rain, it looks like there, David, and that is going to cause concern for some flash flooding of roads and streams and creeks and low-lying areas. So if you live in a flood-prone area, you're probably dealing right now with some high water, and that is going to continue to be something that is of concern. That warning is in effect until 5:30. Thankfully, the heavier rain has ended in this area where we had the flash flood warning. Still some moderate showers, but the heavier downpours now moving through the Jonesboro and Johnson City area. And really, I would say, just by looking at this, our heaviest rain now appears to be perhaps outside of the severe thunderstorm warning in parts of Sullivan County, eastern Hawkins County in Tennessee, as well as parts of Washington County, Virginia, and Scott County in Virginia as well. Here's a live look from our Northeast State camera here on our Ashley Camera Network. Some heavy showers occurring currently here near the airport, with the rain impacting a good portion of Sullivan County right now as well. Got a look here from Bristol Motor Speedway. And certainly some heavy rain. You can see the visibility limited here with the downpours right now across Bristol, Tennessee. Traffic not particularly heavy right now. And folks are going to be heading home from work here shortly. And we do have a view here from the Bank of Tennessee, looking down on North State of Franklin with the traffic, moving along pretty well. The heavier rain now, as far as the metro, looks to be kind of occurring in areas from near Bristol up toward Mendota along the Washington-Sullivan County line, and then extending toward Bluff City and Piney Flats. A little bit lighter in Johnson City, the heavy rain, and then extending up near Bluntville and just to the kind of the east of Colonial Heights, there's 81, 26 intersection, and then we got some heavy rain falling also in the Kingsport area of Hawkins and Sullivan County, and then into Scott County, Virginia as well. I wouldn't be surprised, David, at 3:45 if they'd let this warning perhaps expire.
Yeah, I'm thinking
and
so,
then
too.
that would be it as far as severe thunderstorm warnings are concerned. Whether this can flare up to become severe or not is yet to be determined. But right now, in about 3 or 4 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes or so, this warning for Washington County, Tennessee, into the far west part of Carter, and also portions of Unicoi County, that will expire at about 3:45. And then, of course, that warning you talked about for the mountains in North Carolina, that was a pretty significant statement by the National Weather Service with their warning saying there could be considerable damage due to winds that might reach 70 miles per hour in areas of Avery County and Mitchell and Yancey counties in North Carolina, and points south as well. So that is of concern now. You can see some of that heavy rain along Interstate 26 in Madison County near Mars Hill. And then extending into the eastern part of Yancey and Mitchell County, eastern part of Avery County, and then up toward the Boone area, eastern area of Watauga County. Watauga County not under a warning right now, but no, it's not. And it is some heavy rain there, but back into northeast Tennessee, that warning, as I mentioned, will be expiring for areas of Greene, Washington, Carter, and Unicoi County at 3:45. But now it appears our heaviest rain has actually been occurring in areas of eastern Hawkins and much of Sullivan County and neighboring parts of Scott and Washington County, Virginia. And this does include the Bristol, Kingsport, Blountville, Bluff City area, and moving off to the east. But there is a secondary surge of severe weather developing now across portions of eastern Kentucky and West Virginia, as well as the storms that have been moving through our area are now resulting in those concerns into western North Carolina for strong damaging wind gusts. So this area will have to be watched to see if this might clip parts of southwest Virginia. And of course, we'll just continue to have to keep an eye on the heavy rain that continues across northeast Tennessee, including the Tri-Cities. Keep an eye on the possibility of some localized flooding from those rains that are pushing now across the Tri-Cities. Looking at Max 2, we can take a look at Interstate 81, exit 5 here, and the rain is definitely coming down. Doesn't look like necessarily really strong winds at this point in time, which is some good news. There is some occasional lightning, and I hear an occasional rumble of thunder here outside our studios, but the lightning certainly is not as intense or frequent or prolific as it once was, especially some of those storms that came across areas of Greene County and Unicoi County, Washington County, into Carter County, Tennessee earlier, but we still are monitoring that situation with the heavy rain moving across the area. We've been live with the Storm Tracker kits in Unicoi County right now, following some of the rain that's continuing to push in that part of northeast Tennessee, where we do have a flood advisory in effect. But at this point in time, it does look like, David, that the heavier rain, while impacting, for example, the Bristol area, the Kingsport area, parts of Johnson City, at this point in time, those storms on Doppler radar don't look to be producing damaging wind gusts at this time.
Yeah, it is a good trend on radar. We're more concerned now about the flood potential, especially in Greene County. The flash flood warning in place for the next couple of hours, and radar indicating anywhere from 2 to 3 inches in Greenville, and some pockets of 3.5 to 4 inches. And sometimes that wouldn't be a huge deal, but the ground is so saturated here from the heavy rain last week that it's leading to some flash flooding in and around Greene County. So be alert for high water. Thankfully, the heaviest rain is beginning to push out, and now the severe thunderstorm warning has expired for northeast Tennessee, so all the warnings are now into North Carolina.
All right, so I think what we will do is keep a close eye on the situation, and meteorologist Teresa Carter and David Boyd and myself, we will continue to watch these areas, the heavy rain continuing to push through northeast Tennessee as well as eastern Kentucky. Should those storms fire up and become severe, we will break in and give you an update on that. But to recap today's weather, David, we've had 2 waves of severe weather that came across northeast Tennessee. One earlier this afternoon moved through parts of Hawkins and Hamlin and Cock and Washington and Unicoi, Carter County, and then that subsequently has been moving through and now mainly east of the mountains of North Carolina. We saw a secondary line of storms develop around Knoxville, David, and that produced probably some of the strongest winds west of our viewing area, but that came through now over the past half hour across northeast Tennessee.
Yeah, that wave you were talking about produced 60-mile-an-hour winds around the Knoxville airport. A lot of tree damage is being reported in Knox County and Jefferson County. Numerous trees down, down on vehicles and on homes in Jefferson County around Dandridge. That happened about 2:10, and it moved into Washington County very quickly. And we have some reports of wind damage in southern Washington County, Tennessee. So that is just the first report. I'm sure we will be getting others as the hours roll on. We're checking with emergency managers, and we'll get some more information here. But that is those are the reports we've had so far. Thankfully, there are now no severe thunderstorm warnings in place for the area. Now, we still do have the severe thunderstorm, or excuse me, the tornado watch. It has been canceled to our west. But we are still in that tornado watch until at least 6 o'clock, northeast Tennessee until 7. It may be able to be canceled early, but currently no warnings in the viewing area, but we'll continue to monitor that.
All right, and just one rule before we send it back to regular programming. Let's just zoom in on the Tri-Cities with the radar and just show where that heavy rain still is. And it does stretch, especially into areas from Elizabeth into Johnson City, especially northward through Sullivan County, and then into Hawkins, Scott County. So certainly some heavy rain. Be mindful of that, but I want to thank everybody for staying with us with this severe weather event as it came across northeast Tennessee. I want to thank Kit and Teresa and David and everybody upstairs for getting us on there, and hopefully everything is going to be quieter for the rest of tonight, but still we'll keep an eye on this activity, and should severe thunderstorm warnings become necessary, we will let you know about that. Otherwise, we look forward to giving you an update coming up tonight on News 5 starting at 5 p.m. And until then, y'all have a safe rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you again soon.